Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my podcast. Appreciate you being here with us this week. First and foremost, if you are a new listener, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. If you have not yet, please take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to all the channels for the podcast. You could find me. You know how to use the internet. I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. And a follow, a subscribe, a comment, a like, a couple of kind words really goes a long way for a guy in his basement trying to do a podcast by himself. So please hop on over to Instagram at I'll Call You Right Back. You can check out my website, I'llCallYouRightBack.com. It kind of gives you a little brief overview of what I do and the people that I talk with. You could find the podcast on there. You could find merchandise. You could find services I provide. Whether you are a business looking for a unique way to advertise an event or a product or a store that you might own or a restaurant that you might own, the podcast is a way that businesses can promote their business in a unique way. You know, the podcast has been I've been doing this for 8 years now, over 300 guests, and with that time and with that variety of people that I've had on here, I've been able to gain a following that is pretty, I would say it's pretty unique. You know, every guest that I have on here that's, a different life, they bring a different audience. And, usually people stay after they listen because they enjoy the conversations, I feel like what I'm doing is pretty unique, and if you are someone that's listening for the first time, be sure to look back in the archives, or the phone book as I call it, the list of names in the phone book, and find a guest that you haven't heard of after you listen to this one and throw on their episode. I talk to different business owners around the city about what they do and how they got to that point in their lives, and spoke to everyone from funeral directors to, wedding singers to, business owners to restaurateurs, you name it, really. We had them on here, and we're working to get through the rest of, actually not even the rest, but the untapped amount of people doing great things for the community of Pittsburgh. And this week we sit down with another one that is doing great things for the community of Pittsburgh. This week we sit down with a man named Mike Medved. And some people might ask, Medved, that's a somewhat unique name. Is he related? Well, short answer, yes. We're second cousins. I grew up, I guess you could say, technically, with Mike. We went to the same high school. He was a little bit older than me. And, we had a brief passing in high school, but, I don't really know too much about the guy. And, I do now that I sat down with him. But before that, I only knew Mike by being, the basketball player in Elizabeth Forward. Our sports teams were not that good, but our basketball team was nothing to look down upon. Mike is a extremely talented athlete who, from a young age, had hopes of playing in the NBA, and he worked his entire life to, get to that point. And he spent a lot of his time in his younger years and his teenage years on the court. It was his life. Ball was life. He was there, and that's what he did. He played on AAU travel teams and such, and all while this was going on and he was devoting his time to basketball, he would come home and he would pick up a guitar and spend an equal amount of time, arguably, maybe not equal amount, but a good amount of his time that he had on playing music and singing. And that's something that I didn't really know growing up. I knew him as a basketball player. I never knew that this guy played music or sang. And, later in life, I, became friends with him on Facebook, as people do. And I started seeing him post his videos of him singing. And it was incredible. I was blown away. I knew this guy is an incredible basketball player who, played basketball overseas for a professional team. And, he pops up singing and playing guitar, and it kind of blew my mind. So I've been following him and his journey as a event and wedding singer these past 15 years or so, however how long we've been friends on Facebook, and I've just seen his growth. People that have listened to the podcast before might know that my wife is pretty active in the wedding scene. She is a incredible wedding makeup artist, and she goes by Antoinette Medved Makeup, and she always comes home and she's like, another person asked me about Mike Medved, because he is a person in the wedding world that is just absolutely killing it as a just an entertainer. A lot of people put the label on what people do is like a wedding DJ, but Mike really is the whole package. Like, this guy will come to your wedding, he will play your first song on a guitar live in front of you, he will play your entrance music and your exit music, and he'll play your cocktail hour. But also, this guy is an accomplished wedding DJ. Your typical wedding DJ, with the boards and the speakers and everything. So he really is there for the whole night to be a facilitator of fun, in his words. And I thought that was so cool to hear about. So Mike comes over, we talk about his early years playing basketball and how he devoted his life to that, and ultimately how he decided to pursue music. We talk about that journey from a young age, on how he picked up a guitar and how he came into his voice and really wanted to pursue a career being a live entertainer. And I was happy to have him in here to learn more about it. Everyone's seen The Wedding Singer. I don't know any wedding singers perfectly. Now I do, and he does it a little bit differently, obviously, than Robbie Hart. But I loved having him in to hear his conversation and hear his story about how things came to be. So if you are someone that is looking for a live entertainer, I cannot recommend Mike Medved enough. You can go online, look him up, Mike Medved, and you could find his services. And like I said, he's doing weddings, he's doing just different events in general. He is a DJ, he is a musician, a songwriter, and he is a father and a husband overall. And it was a really great conversation. So hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, episode 304 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Mike Medved.
Telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back.
How's the volume on your cans?
Yeah, it's good.
Good? I feel like the only way that we could open this up is by talking about the delicious meal we just had.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so pierogies, handmade pierogies, Barton's Bake Shop.
Yes, sir.
Located in Elizabeth.
Yeah.
By your wonderful wife and her sister.
That's correct.
Now, this, is that something that they always have?
Yeah.
Pierogies?
Yeah. So they're handmade and they're made fresh, and then they freeze them because it's the most convenient way for you to grab them and cook them.
Yeah.
And like Mrs. T, they did figure some things out. You never got a soft Mrs. T. It was always frozen.
Yeah.
And so they make them fresh. You can order them. You can call an order and say, hey, don't freeze those. I'm coming in to get those. But yeah, it's the most friendly way for them to provide to their customers.
And is this always available, pierogies?
Most of the time. Yeah, I mean, they're a seasonal business, so there are times when things won't be in stock. It's kind of the nature of having like a small bakery storefront.
I love that though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
You don't often find a place that does a good pierogi. They're usually either like super doughy and too much or too little, but those are good. And the Likvar filling, those are you don't often find people that make that.
It's cool, man. I'm really thankful that my wife honors kind of like both sides of their family, because they have English on one side and they have Slovak on the other side. So you can go down to the bakery and you get their English aunts, walnut thumbprints, but on the other side you're rocking Paska bread and pierogies and cool stuff from the Slovak side. So it's cool, man. It's special.
Yeah. That's great stuff. It's a big thanks to them. Now, this has been a long time coming, having you in here.
Yes.
People that are listening, we're distant relatives.
Yep.
We've been talking about this a little bit beforehand, but it's a long time coming. I feel like we've been trying to do this for a good bit of time, but you obviously are a busy man. I'm a busy man, but everything's supposed to happen for whenever it's meant to happen.
It lined up today, and I'm a fan first, by the way. We're relatives, no doubt, blood. I love that, but I'm a podcast fan, bro. Like, I'm just thankful to be here.
I appreciate that.
In that vein, I was thinking, like, what are you going to title the episode? Like, is this going to be like Medved Mania? Like, bro, there's 2 Medveds on the podcast. Like, what?
You want to know what's funny is I interviewed another person named Chad Medved.
Nah.
Yeah.
How did I not see that one?
This is probably like maybe 3.5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I kept getting people that were reaching out to me saying, you know, are you a brewer at Grist House Brewery?
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I'm not, and multiple people have asked me this, and I was like, why are people asking me this? And ended up meeting someone that was familiar with Grist, and I was like, you know, why are people asking me if I work there? And they're like, we have a Chad Medved that works there. And I was like, no way that there's another human being called Chad Medved there. So I ended up creeping on Facebook, found his profile, and it was just like, you know, a silhouette of a dude on a BMX bike, and I was like, this is so odd, and ended up getting in contact with him, and I was like, hey man, my name is Chad Medved. I would love to have you on the podcast and interview you about life growing up as another Chad Medved local. He was from York, so he was relatively close. I think we're only a year or 2 apart. He grew up loving BMX and stuff like that. I was a skateboard kid, so it was just like very, very like a parallel universe. But yeah, so you're gonna be the second Medved on I'll Call You Right Back.
All right.
Definitely the tallest one. But yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting conversation. I don't know if we got down to like, you know, any details of like how we're related or if we were related, but yeah, it's interesting for sure. But I don't know what we'll call this one. Maybe Medved Mania? Well, something like that. We'll figure it out. Now, you are obviously, you know, a man who wears many hats. Okay, what would you call yourself?
Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. That's like I think that's where I root my identity. And then I try to filter like all life decisions through what's going to help me be the best version of that. And thankfully, I think a lot of those life decisions revolve around my work as a wedding and event musician.
Wedding and event musician.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now, I feel like, you know, doing my little bit of research, like I had a misconception about, you know, your profession and what you did. I assumed that you were just playing some you were coming and you were playing some music, and I didn't realize that, you know, you do the DJing, you know, you're a total package, you know, to say the least. Now, obviously that's your full time now. You're a musician, event musician, wedding musician, all of that. But I want to rewind a little bit back to, you know, the beginning of your life, because we're related distantly, but I don't know a good bit about you and like how, you know, music came into your life and how you kind of wanted to pursue this, you know, unique career. I've never spoke to an event musician, or, you know, I've had rappers on here and like, you know, traditional musicians in that way. And not saying that you're not a traditional musician, but like someone who does a unique job, like an event and wedding musician. Now, when does music come into your life?
Oh man, my earliest memories are singing. I got like childhood memories of sitting on a dresser and playing like the Aladdin soundtrack on a cassette tape, just nonstop.
Whole New World.
Yeah, bro. I mean, like, to be fair, yeah. I loved trying to sing the guy parts of A Whole New World, but you know what my jam was off that soundtrack was Riff Raff Street Rat. I don't buy that. You know
Riff
that
Raff Street Rat. I don't buy that. Yeah, I know all
that. If only they'd look closer.
Yeah, if only they'd look closer, would they see a poor boy? I can't remember the bit.
Yeah, there's
I
so
love
much more to me.
Yeah, there's so much
bro,
more
that
to
lives
me.
at the heart of my life, bro. There's so much more to me. There you go.
That's so good. So, I mean, from a young age, like you, I know now that your parents are not musicians.
They're not. Bro, my dad, has 2 hilarious claims to fame. One is that he's the best singer in the family. We can't prove him wrong because he refuses to sing. We have never heard my dad sing a single note in his life.
Really?
Never. Not once.
Wow.
His second claim to fame is our shared alma mater, Elizabeth Ford High School. In its inaugural year for cross country, he came in second for the season. So he likes to say that he was the second best ever cross country runner in school history. And I'm like, bro, that's the year they started the team. Like, simmer down. Okay.
That's good. I like that. So, I mean, like, music really was just like, you know, instinctual and something that was inside of you, right?
Yeah, dude, I do have like a pretty powerful opinion on that. Like I grew up singing in the church. I do think it was a gift that I was given, and one I'm very thankful for. There are some musicians that were in our family. My mom's half brother, it's like her older half brother. He was a really gifted piano player, and he was a good singer too. Not necessarily in a style that like was for me, but he could sing. And I remember being a kid, and he would sit down at the piano with no music, and he would just play songs perfectly, like New York, Frank Sinatra stuff, or like old traditional hymns. And I always thought like my memories of seeing musicians was sheet music everywhere, and someone turned the page, and I used to bug the heck out of him, like, teach me how to do that. How do you do that? He's like, oh, you just do it. And now I play the piano, bro, no sheet music.
Really?
Yeah. I can't read music as far as like those are notes on a staff piano. Like I just can play the piano, which is a very weird thing.
Yeah.
Like I do need some chord charts. So like just a letter with a symbol over some lyrics that like helps me move through the song. But as far as like this note corresponds to that dot, I'm lost, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's funny that I've kind of inherited my uncle's kind of like nonchalant. I don't know. You just do it. Like, and it's funny, people ask me like, can you give my kid music lessons or whatever? I'm like, you don't want me teaching your kid how to play music. Like I taught myself how to play music.
Yeah.
You don't want me teaching. I would teach them all the wrong things.
That's funny.
It would be a train wreck.
That's cool though. That's a cool way to come into that. Now, I mean, like from a young age, you're obviously like, you would sing along to whatever you were watching, whatever. But like, when do instruments come into play?
When I was 12. Yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 12. My Uncle Larry used to like keep this old raggedy electric guitar at the house, and it didn't even do anything. I think it had 3 strings on it. It was missing 3 strings. I just remember being a kid and being enamored with the fretboard, with the shininess of the frets. I remember turning the knobs and like flipping the switches, turning the tuning pegs, and just like with some of my earliest memories are just tinkering with this thing and just getting lost in like what it could be or what it could do.
Yeah.
And I'd ask him about it all the time. Oh, it's broken, it doesn't work. And like he was being honest, but he wasn't a musician either. He just had an electric guitar from when he was a kid. And I remember growing up, I was really moved by two really cool friends of my dad, Robbie Greenwald and Kerry Frost, and like shout out to those 2 guys, because like I'm really thankful I had a dad who was very active and very involved, and he was also not heavy-handed and allowed like mentors into my life, which I think is a pretty insightful thing. Like I want to give my dad credit for that, because like as a dad now, there's a little bit of dad pride where I'm like, no, I'll teach my kid how to do that. You don't have to teach him how to do that. But then I realized, like coming from a childhood having some mentors that have really blessed me in many ways, like shout out to my dad for seeing that it's not a competition. It's like it takes the village thing in like its truest sense. So I remember being inspired by Robbie and Kerry, who played guitar in our church. We had like the old traditional Presbyterian, like put you to sleep, like drone it on. And then we had like the, what you see now is like this big polished production, like modern worship thing. And like I have my own complaints about that, but like it was new at the time in like 2000, in the year 2000. And we were playing like acoustic guitar and singing like modern worship music. And I remember being like, I want to play the guitar like that. I can sing, but I want to do that thing. And my parents went to Sam's Club and they bought a Yamaha for $98.
Wow.
And it was classical. It was a classical guitar. So the strings on a classical guitar are like fishing wire strings. They're nylon, which was a blessing and a curse, because you can get sound out of that pretty quickly. So like that would be a little cheat code for someone who wants to learn how to play guitar. Acoustic guitar strings are really rough on the fingers until you build your calluses up, and you have to squeeze super hard, and you don't get like a lot of great tone early on. But nylon strings are super forgiving, and you can just kind of lightly touch them and you make the contact that you need to get a good sound. So I started playing on like a nylon classical string guitar, but I'm playing like Steve Miller Band and Garth Brooks and stuff. Like I wasn't playing classical music.
I mean, if you get your guitar at 12 years old, I mean, like how do you go about learning it?
Bro, the ultimateguitar.com. Did you ever hear this website?
No.
It came out that year. It is still like my go-to app. So when I play like a wedding, or if I'm at Narcissi Winery, my app on my phone, I've been looking at that logo and that interface since I was 12. And I never talk about this, bro. This is kind of like cool as heck to like bring up and think about. So yeah, ultimate-guitar.com, and like it's just a website full of chord charts, just lyrics with the chord symbol above them.
Wow.
So I would go through, and then there would be like a chart that has dots on it that represents the part of the fretboard, and the dots would just be representations of your finger. And I'm like, all right, that's where I got to put my finger, where that dot is. And just doing that for so long in your bedroom by yourself, eventually you remember where your fingers go, and then you play the chords.
Now, is this something different this is different than tab, right?
Yeah, tablature, it can be related. You can make chord shapes out of tablature. Tabs, if you're making chords out of a tab, the numbers would stack straight up. A chord chart would be like you're looking at the first 3 frets of the guitar, and a dot would tell you where to put your finger.
Yeah.
Or if it's a number, it's telling you what finger number to use, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Tabs, like this is also ironic. My first tablature song I learned to play was Stairway to Heaven, which is hilarious because I didn't know the whole like don't play Stairway to Heaven in the guitar shop thing until you watch like what's the movie?
Wayne's World.
Yeah, Wayne's World, right where the sign like drops down and stuff. So I remember like the first experience with tablature was Stairway to Heaven, and I clunked through that for like 6 months until I could play it. So it's like one of my earliest songs I could play.
So you got your guitar, and then you kind of just like took it upon yourself to like, you know, go walk down that path and, you know, kind of just see where it took you.
Yeah, went for it, bro. It was also like the counterbalance to basketball, which was a very like public, somewhat stressful, high expectation thing. So like when I had that on one side, I could come home from a game, whether I played good or not, you know, you kind of just need that unwind.
Yeah.
And I would break the guitar out, and it was like the perfect wash where I would like take all the emotion and the angst and the, you know, I played well or didn't, and I would be able to distill that down into something completely different. And at the end of playing guitar, I felt like I had a great reset and like just felt good. Felt
like
centered.
Palate cleanse.
Yeah, palate cleanse. I felt centered after playing guitar.
It's interesting because, you know, my first experience with you, it's like I didn't know you were a musician at all.
Yeah, nobody did
for a long time. I just knew you as like, you know, a basketball player. And whenever, you know, I don't even know how I found out that you know, played music. Maybe us being friends on Facebook or something like that. But I was like, this is crazy because I felt like that, you know, I could tell by the level of skill that you had that you've been doing it for a long time, but I just had no idea. So was basketball, when did that come into your life?
Oh, my dad was a hooper. My dad was a hooper, so my earliest memories are going to the MEC, the Monongahela Educational Center in Mon City.
Wow.
And watching my dad referee basketball games. He would take me with him, and I remember like the Mon Valley, the old school Mon Valley like referee and coaching community is super tight, and they all have nicknames for each other, and they're just like super good friends. And I remember just seeing my dad interact with other people on the basketball court and being like, there's something special about that. Like, there's just like some cool manly friendships involved here. Like I want a little bit of that, and I love the game. I love it's like poetry in motion. You know, I love the way that, you know, when something happens on this side, something different can happen on the other side of the court, which unlocks this like new lane you can get into. So I grew up playing, man. I grew up. My dad, he was a brick and block layer before he got his teaching job, so he had a little bit of experience in concrete. He poured a half court in our backyard, and we were not. My parents were teachers at Charleroi, bro. We did not have money. Yeah. But my dad was able to leverage some, like, you know, some bartering and some work hours and just a little bit of skill
to make that happen.
It was important to him. Yeah. So I had a half, not all the way to the 3-point line, but like just inside the 3-point line.
Enough.
And okay, so I'm left-handed, but my dunk is a right-handed dunk because the hoop was off-centered. So the bigger runway for me, right, bro? The bigger runway for me was to start in the back left corner and to run over the middle of the hoop with my right hand, because on the other side there was not enough runway.
No runway.
Yeah, there was no runway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's cool to think about that, like, you know, you had two different, you know, sides of your life, you know, basketball, obviously a main focus, and then, you know, music, which I would assume was kind of like, you know, a back burner type of thing for you, you know, just more of an escape to get away. Now, if you're 12, 13, 14, you know, you're probably getting into basketball pretty heavy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, how heavy is music at that time? Or is this just something that like you're dabbling in, or is that like, you know, a full on, you know, love and obsession?
Yeah. Both, bro. Both. Yeah. I was either watching Michael Jordan VHS tapes like Come Fly With Me, or like staying up late to watch, you know, the late ABC game that they might air back in the day. Yeah. Or I was working on playing guitar and singing. Wow. And the cool thing about guitar and singing was, like, I wouldn't want to hear me now. Like, if you could time travel me back and like put me outside of the window to listen, it wasn't good. Like, it was pretty bad.
I would assume, right?
Yeah. I mean, and like, you're a kid, so that's forgivable, right? Yeah. but like it was really bad. You know?
You were interested in singing even back then?
Yeah, I love singing. Yeah, I love singing. And
that's
like
cool.
There was some dual motivation. I liked playing and singing in church as part of like the big team of people who did it up front. But like I also had the misnomer of like, man, maybe I'll get some girls to like me.
Yeah.
But you know what actually happens when you play guitar? You know who comes to talk to you? You know who comes up? All the old dudes. Yeah. Bro, what kind of guitar is that? What do you got?
Yeah.
And then they tell you about all their guitars.
Like, beat it, man. I'm trying to get these girls.
Yeah. And even in like
as a young
even in my single era, like, you know, young and single, early 20s, bro, no girls came to talk to me, man. It was like all the guys that were also musicians or dudes who wanted to be musicians which is hilarious because as a kid you're like, I can play guitar and get some girls. No, you can't. No, you won't.
When you were younger and you started playing guitar, like how long until you started like performing music, like even at church? Like how old were you?
Oh man, I was 12. I started performing at 12.
So would you say you like, you know, kind of picked up the guitar pretty quickly?
Yes. Yeah. Within like 6 months, I was proficient playing chords and singing for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Maybe shorter, but certainly within 6 months. My specialty was the B minor chord, bro. Nobody on the worship team at church could play the B minor chord for whatever reason. I mean, you have to like bar the chord, which is like use your whole finger and whatever, make an A minor shape above your pointer finger. Like, so I felt like that was my moment. Like, I knew when it was coming in this song called Ancient of Days, and I'm like, all right, everybody. And like the one dude who used to look over my shoulder, like, you got this, friend? I'm like, yeah, I got it. What I didn't realize at the time was like, no one hears a nylon string guitar. They're not loud.
Yeah.
We had a 12-string. There was like two 12-string guitars, a acoustic bass that was plugged in, a piano. Like, wow. Nobody was hearing me.
Yeah.
But in my mind, like,
you're there.
I'm there, bro. And I'm the one who can play. I'm the only one that can play the B minor chord.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I was rocking it from 12. So I've been like, I thought about this last year, and I'm not very like retrospective because I'm so busy, man. I'm just going to the next thing to like, just what's the next task, the next goal, what's the next fire I got to put out, what kid am I helping with, whatever next, you know. But last year it occurred to me, like, I've been playing guitar for 25 years. When I turned 37, I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a grip.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like, whenever you know, you're obviously playing music in church, and you know that's a big place where you're spending your time. But are you at that point like writing your own music, like, or did that come later in life?
Bro, that came with the breakups in college, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I don't think I ever wrote a happy song for like years and years. That was like, and those songs weren't good, but like I really appreciate Ed Sheeran's perspective on that. Like, you know, when you leave the garden hose out in the yard, and then you turn it on, and the first kind of the first bit of water that comes out
spits.
Well, it was the water that was in the hose while it was
yeah.
turned off, and it's all like hot and brown and like nasty.
Yeah.
Like he says, songwriting is like that, where you just turn the tap on, and the first stuff that comes out is just like the nasty shit that was like laying in the hose.
Wow.
But like let it out. You just have to keep letting it out, keep doing it. Eventually the clear water comes out from the clean part of the pipe that's in your house, you know?
Wow.
So like, yeah, the early songs were not good, but they were songs.
Yeah, that's cool.
They started, they ended, they had middles, they were done. You know?
That's cool though. So I mean, like, I'm just trying to gauge, like, because obviously, you know, you write your own music and stuff now. So I just didn't know if that was like something that, you know, you were doing when you were 12 years old, or if that like kind of came later. Because I know a bunch of people that, you know, play music as far as like, you know, they're playing other people's songs and doing that, but it's a different type of beast to be able to play your own music and write your own music.
Dude, I went to a songwriters retreat in Nashville, and Jenny Owens was one of our featured speakers. There was only like 12 people at this retreat. It was super intimate, and like it was amazing. Shout out like Full Circle Music and Seth Mosley, because they are like a wonderful group of people who really have a heart for like coming alongside musicians who are exploring songwriting and kind of pulling back the curtain and showing them like actually where you kind of measure up. Because the Nashville no is just not getting a reply. Like, I call it the Nashville no. You might send an email or whatever, you never hear back. 99 times out of 100, just not hearing back is the Nashville no. But like that crew, they will host people there, they will mentor them in the appropriate ways. And like, just like, man, some of my favorite people were down there as speakers, and Jenny Owens, one of them. And she's blind. She plays the piano, and she writes incredible worship songs. And I'll never forget when she said, "You know what the hardest part of songwriting is?" And I was like, man, here comes this lady with this wisdom for me. She has Grammy Awards and Dove Awards, and she's like the biggest thing ever from this particular era of church music. She's, the hardest part of songwriting is songwriting. And I was like, damn, you're right. You're right. The hardest part of songwriting is just any part of songwriting. It's impossible. There's nothing. You have nothing to start. There's no melody, there's no progression, there's no length of the song, you don't have chords, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, you have something.
Yeah, recently I just watched a little interview with I can't remember his name, but he's the lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
Okay, and he was just
Adam Resnick.
I think that's it. Who knows? But
yeah,
someone
I'll get
was
called
like,
out for that one when I was wrong.
Someone was like, how do you go about writing a song? And he was like, dude, you just start by just strumming. And he was like, I just mumble, and he, kind of played the progression of Iris, how it started, and like, the first mumble, and like how it kind of unfolded. And I was like, that's so fascinating, because like I've never played any instruments, and that's like something that I regret that I never got into, but it's fascinating to like see how people put things together like that. Just to watch it unfold. It's the same feeling you get when you watch someone like paint a picture or something, which is pretty crazy. So coming up through high school, you obviously are playing basketball, you're playing music at church, and obviously, just in your room and stuff. But what is your idea of what you want to be when you grow up?
While in high school?
While in high school.
Well, I'm going to be a professional basketball player.
Okay,
of course
yeah.
I am.
I figured.
Of course I am.
So, I mean, in Elizabeth Forward, you were known to be a good basketball player. How tall are you?
6'7".
So when could you dunk? What was the first dunk?
Summer after 7th grade.
That's insane.
Yeah. I was 6'1" at that time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was also string bean. Like, I was really thin. Like,
yeah, but you're dunking, like that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coming through high school when you're playing basketball, like, was that, you truly thought that was going to happen, right?
Yes.
Before we started recording, you talked about how you played a lot of AAU basketball, and you spent a lot of your time traveling around playing basketball. So it was, your whole life basically.
Yeah. And I had some great coaches in my life, so I really have to give credit to them. Our high school coach, you remember Ness, how Ness used to yell from the sideline?
Yep.
Bro, Jim Nesser, one of the toughest dudes you'll ever meet, but with a heart of gold. So very misunderstood, because when he yells, you think, as a spectator, you think that he is just tearing people apart.
Yeah.
He's really just yelling like motivational things, but his yell is so like rounded that you don't catch the syllables of what he's saying.
Yeah.
So he just sounds like an angry mess.
Yeah.
Right? But he was tough. He was loving, but he was tough. And he was like, hey, if you want to do this for real, like, this is how it has to be done. And he kind of gave me a blueprint of like, you ever hear when someone says, well, if you're not working out, Michael Jordan's working out, the next guy's working out.
Yeah, the next guy's working out twice as hard.
Yeah, that was kind of the message. So, yeah, I kind of went all in.
In high school, how do you navigate, your next steps on that sort of trajectory? Like, how do you go about getting yourself noticed to eventually play in the NBA?
Yeah. Well, there's an interesting similarity here with how I pursued a songwriting career, which I've never really thought about before. So, I got to play in Europe. I wasn't NBA material, and that's all right, because there's only ever been like 3,000 people in the history of the NBA.
Yeah. Like
3,300, I think, is the total number that have ever played in the league.
Yeah, that's insane to think about.
Yeah, you're the top 1% of the 1%. But I guess what I'm getting at here is, eventually you find out like where you stack up if you're fortunate enough to get in the right room. So with songwriting, I was writing songs, and I was really passionate about it for a period of my music career. And I really thought, like, I don't want to be the artist, because I don't really have like the gear where I want people to look at me, and I don't really want to be the one like on the album cover, but I love writing songs, and I love to know that people were having a good time. So that really lines up with my life as like a wedding and event musician, because I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about people having fun. I just want to provide what I love to do, which is music, which is cool, because that's how it works in the wedding and event world. If you actually try to make it about you, you're wrong. It's not about you. It's about your clients. It's about your couple, or it's about your, if a corporation hires you or whatever. You're there to provide entertainment and a service. The basketball thing, in a very similar way, if you can get yourself into the right camp and into the right gym, you learn where you are. So like Full Circle Music, when I was flying, there was like a year I was flying back and forth to Nashville quite frequently. And not just things that I was like signing up for, like I was invited to like record label Christmas parties, like what I thought were some pretty promising opportunities. And I wasn't around people that were like trying to make it as well. I was around people who like have made it, like actual industry professionals with, you know, all the credits and the Grammys and the Doves and all the stuff. But eventually at the end of that adventure, it was very similar to the end of like the basketball adventure, where, you know, Seth and members of his team were like, hey, we've heard like basically all your songs now, and we know kind of who you are as a writer, and we love you as a person, so we just have to tell you this fact. There are only ever somewhere between 15 and 30 new songs on country radio. All the rest of the songs that are spinning are like legacy hits. So you have to have one of the best 15 to 30 country songs out in the whole world at the time that you get it released to be a successful songwriter. And they're like, we like your songs a lot. They're just not in the 15 to 30 range. Yeah. And that's okay. And I was like, you know what? That is okay. I'm so thankful like for the wisdom and for the honesty. Like that is so cool of you guys, because most of my experience with trying to break into like anything Nashville is the Nashville No.
Yeah.
Where you just don't hear anything. You don't hear shit.
Yeah. I mean, you're a small fish in a big pond.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was cool. And then with the basketball thing, the AAU world has changed a lot. When we were younger and when I was in high school doing this, there were only 2 teams in the city. It didn't matter if so-and-so back home could write a check. Mommy or daddy write a check. You're on an AAU team now, because there's 100 AAU teams in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So back then it was the Jots and it was South Point. And I was very, very lucky, very fortunate to get selected for the Jots. And we were like the best AAU team in the city. We were the best AAU team. We won the state every year.
What ages was that?
When I was 14 to 17, 14 to 18.
So it's, yeah.
Mostly high school. Like I didn't really play AAU in 7th and 8th grade. That wasn't really a thing. We played like Metro travel basketball.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
But not AAU was like a different tier back then.
So was AAU the place where people were like, you know, getting noticed for Beyond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you would go to these tournaments and there would be college coaches all through the bleachers.
Oh, yeah, good point. That makes sense.
Yeah, and if you were like one of the better AAU teams, they'd put you... So like the Tobacco Road Classic, that's hosted by North Carolina, Duke, and NC State. Now, only the best teams got to play in the Dean Dome or on Cameron Indoor or at NC State's gym. I can't remember the name of it. The other teams that were just there trying to get the exposure and hopefully some college coaches would come see you, they would put them at the surrounding high schools. The Jots had like a great reputation because in their earlier era, and this is shout out to J.O. Strite, who like owns the team, they had Danny Fortson and they had like all the pedigree of Pittsburgh who had come before us. So that name, like they carried like some serious clout. So when the Jots registered, they were like, oh, this is the Jots, they get placed. So I got to play like national championships, Indiana Hoosier Dome, like where Bobby Knight threw the chair across the court.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And that's pretty wild.
And I'm playing against Josh McRoberts, who was like, I think he played for Spice Indy Heat. And he goes on to have like a 12-year career in the NBA and makes like $70 million. So like I was in the tier of playing like best of the best. And then from that, you can get invited to evaluation clinics. The guys who are going to the NBA, they go to like ABCD. Right, that's like the one from back then. That's where like Kevin Durant and LeBron James, like they were all going to that. Well, I got invited to the Bob Givens evaluation clinic, and Bob Givens was famous at the time because he's the guy who put the seal of approval on Kevin Garnett.
Okay,
like this guy can jump from high school to the NBA right now. He's going to do it, and he was in and through like the whole AAU world. I got ranked in 89, so 90 to 100 coming out of his camp means you're going major D1. And 85 to 89 means you're going small D1. And then from there, it just kind of goes down the ranks.
Yeah.
So Bob Gibbons, like his eyes on me, the same guy that evaluated some of the best high school players in the history of high school players, gave me an 89. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm on the cusp of going like main D1.
Yeah.
And I was getting recruited by like Bucknell. I always say it this way because I don't want it to be more than it actually is. Pre-Steph Curry Davidson. All right. That's how I say it.
Pre-Steph Curry.
I'm like honest to a fault. I never want, like, let's say my obituary, however many years from now, I never want people to be like, yeah, Mike was an embellisher. Like that is,
yeah, like, you're not blowing smoke.
No, that's not me.
I respect that.
Pre-Steph Curry Davidson. He would have been a teammate of mine. My like junior year would have been his freshman year, or my senior year would have been his freshman year, but this was pre-Steph Curry Davidson. So like some really solid Division I schools, but they were like smaller Division I, mid-major. And then I had like Columbia come make a home visit, which was Division I, but it's the Ivy League. They don't give money. The Ivy League is a matter of principle, doesn't give athletic scholarships. And then I was getting heavily recruited by St. Vincent College in Latrobe and Seton Hill down the street in Greensburg. And they kind of like, that was like a recruiting war for me with those guys too. So I guess to kind of land the plane on that narrative is, if you're one of the best high school players around and you want to find out, you go and you try out for an AAU team.
Yeah.
If you make the AAU team, then you find out, are you playing or are you coming off the bench?
Yeah.
Are you starting or coming off the bench? And then when you get down to the tournament and it's guys who are nationally ranked 1 through 100, I was ranked top 250 on the East Coast and top 500 in the country for my graduating class. You find out, the FAFO, like,
yeah, you
find out quick.
Yeah.
There's guys, they take no prisoner. They're down there. They know that, like, one of my teammates was getting recruited by Bob Huggins. And so, Bob Huggins is sitting in the front row of your AAU game. You need to go dunk. You're going to go dunk on somebody. Yeah. You're going to go make the play because you want to go play.
Someone else that's doing it too.
Exactly.
It's like everyone's hungry and they're trying to make a name for themselves.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
So I mean, you end up going to St. Vincent's after you had a terrible, unfortunate event in high school. ACL teared.
ACL plus ACL, MCL. Medial meniscus and lateral meniscus all together, at once. So it felt like someone took a samurai sword through my knee. It was rough.
So, I mean, like, at that moment, whenever that happens, are you just like, you just think everything's over?
Yeah, cheesiest Disney movie scene of all time. Like, literally, if they had a camera there, I'd be like, we could use this. This is some great footage here.
Yeah.
We were playing Brentwood in a preseason scrimmage. And at this point in my career, dude, I was like, again, I was thin. I was very lean. I could, like, dunk from just inside the foul line. I could fly. I could throw the ball like around my back and catch it up over my shoulder and touch my shoulder blades again and then slant. Like, I was flying back then. And like at putting up 20 some points, that was a sleepy game for me.
Yeah.
Well, I jumped the passing lane. We're in the fourth quarter of this scrimmage. I don't even know why I was in the game. I jumped the passing lane. It's the last preseason scrimmage of the year. I'm like, I'm going to put my elbows in the rim. This is going to be showtime. So I jumped the passing lane, and the point guard who threw the pass, obviously he's trying to chase it down because he made a turnover. He's frustrated. I can sense that he's chasing me, and I'm not trying to get hurt, so I came to a jump stop. I'm like, instead of me trying to fly, let me just make the safe play, take one more dribble, land on 2 feet. If he hits me, at least I'm on 2 feet, get a little contact, little and one or something.
Yeah.
My left foot landed on his foot. He was trying to like sneak around in front of me and poke the ball out.
Yeah.
And when I came down, my left knee went backward through the joint.
Jeez.
So it tore all that. Yeah. And so then I hit the ground and I'm holding my leg and I'm going, why me? It was like, seriously, Disney movie cheese. My teammates were all around me in a circle. My coach was like, Mike, you okay? And I'm like, no, why me? Why me? Why me? Like, I knew something was legit wrong.
Bad.
Like, yeah.
So that happens, and then you go through, you heal, end up playing for St. Vincent's.
Yeah.
At that point in your life, are you still thinking like, I'm gonna try to do something with basketball beyond this, or are you kind of just like, I'm just playing now?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. To just back up just a millisecond, shout out DP Harris, my college coach, because I had to inform everybody that was recruiting me that I tore my ACL.
Oh shit, that's
I didn't
crazy.
sign, I didn't commit because I'm like trying to milk this through my senior year because on my mind, Bob Gibbons gave me an 89 and I'm on the cusp of being big D1, so I'm trying to go out there and average 20 some points a game and win WIPIO and try to win. Like the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette chose my Elizabeth Forward team, my graduating class senior year, that's what I'm trying to say, to win the state championship for AAA.
Yeah,
we had Big Steve. You remember Big Steve?
Oh yeah,
Steve Swick. He went to Akron.
Still talk to him recently.
One of my favorite dudes of all time.
Yeah.
Nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Nicest.
He's 6'10".
I know.
He's like, or 6'9". He's 6'9". I'm 6'7".
He's insane.
Our core had been together since we were in like third grade. My dad had coached us since we were in third grade. So all the graduating seniors, we just had like spidey sense about each other all the time. We were untouchable in summer leagues before my senior year. Untouchable.
Yeah.
I remember beating the state championship Uniontown like quad A team. They had just won the states. We beat them in summer league, and I was like, I think we're going to be all right here.
Yeah.
We didn't lose a game all summer, but I had to call everybody, and everybody else was like, hey, sorry to hear that news, man. Like, best of luck.
Yeah, see you later on to the next.
See you later. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
And DP Harris told me, hey, we made a commitment to you. We offered you a scholarship, and at St. Vincent College, we keep our promises.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, and Seton Hill did as well. They did the same.
That's great.
And I was just like blown away by that. And yeah. Yeah, so shout out D.
So you played there, and how many years did you play?
Yeah, I was on scholarship all 4 years, so it was a full ride. But my freshman year was a throwaway, dude. I had this giant leg brace on. I mean, after an ACL repair, you're non-weight bearing for, in my case, I was non-weight bearing for 6 weeks. So I was in a wheelchair. You might remember being in a wheelchair for a bit in high school.
That's crazy.
I couldn't run for a year. Let's put it that way. I couldn't run for a year.
Does that like kill your spirits, after you have that sort of thing where you're playing basketball and like, at one point before you tore your ACL and everything else, it's like you're just on the cusp of like, trying to make something happen to like get your name, really out there. And then you get hurt and you're, not exactly where you want to be. And you're playing basketball there. It's like, at any point in that time, do you feel like, I don't even want to play basketball anymore. I'm just done with this now.
I think thankfully I was protected from thoughts like that.
Okay, good.
Because I think if that thought had creeped in, it might have taken over.
Yeah.
I just had like this vicious switch that flipped. It was like, I'm going to do everything in my power. I'm going to be even better than I was.
Yeah.
I got really militant with some things, like my diet. So I couldn't run for a year. But one of my best friend's older brothers was studying like nutrition and exercise science in college.
So you just flipped that switch.
Bro, I hit the bench press and I just did all upper body and everything I could possibly do. And I was like 190 some pounds when I got hurt. When I came back, which I don't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing, I was like 225, like built like a brick shit house. Yeah.
Wow.
I was benching like big numbers and all that. No, but then I had to learn how to run with that body and learn how to play basketball with that body. And I was inherently slower with a repaired ACL. So now all of a sudden I'm like a 4 or 5 man where I should be like a 3 man in college at that height.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge, man.
So you played overseas, right?
Yeah.
Now, how does that come into play?
Oh, dude. St. Vincent has a great history and tradition of people playing professionally after college. So our assistant coach for a couple of years when I was in college, he had played in the NBA for a couple of years. Fun fact, you have some great memorabilia here. If you have the original NBA Jam for Sega Genesis,
he was in it,
and you choose the Dallas Mavericks, they had just traded their starting point guard. I think it was Ron Harper or somebody. They had just traded their starting point guard right before the publication date of that thing. But something about the trade got rejected or whatever, but he was in limbo and didn't have a team. And Mike Islino was the backup point guard for the Dallas Mavericks. So if you choose the Dallas Mavericks in the original,
you could play him.
Yeah, he was my college coach.
Wow, that's cool.
He played in Italy for years. He didn't think I could do it though. He cut me down at the end of my career, which that was tough. He's like, you just go get a job, man. You're not good enough to play. And I was like, okay, I thought you were a coach, but all right. But we had like, he wasn't an alumni of St. Vincent. Our St. Vincent guys, we had a guy in Israel play for like 15 years. Tony Washam, Kenny Roberts played in the UK, which is where I eventually went to play. We had Daniel Santiago, who played in the NBA and then was in Puerto Rico for a long time. We had Chris Williams play in Germany. Like we have a cast of characters that played in Europe, and we have guys right now in Australia.
That's wild.
Yeah. So it was a path that had already been walked. So I could kind of dream on that with some sense of it's not an insurmountable task. Like people have done this from this gym. So I'm trying to do it. But like it's not a given, dude. That was in 2009. So I'm on a janky website called Eurobasket, and I'm emailing like all these agents in Europe, and sometimes I'm trying to translate stuff, but Google Translate didn't exist yet. So I'm like going to the foreign languages department to like email this coach in Corsica. And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
I obsessed over like every minute of every day. I made my own highlight tape, which is still on YouTube. You could watch it. It's my St. Vincent College basketball highlight tape.
So you were just hungry.
I was hungry, bro. I was in the Mac lab, and I remember the communications professor was like, Mike, you have spent more hours in this lab than any of my communication majors have this year. And I was not a communications major. Like,
I mean, that's super cool to hear though. So I mean, how many years did you play over there?
So I played for 2 years. At the end of my second year, my body just gave out, dude.
Yeah.
I had left foot full of stress fractures, looked like a spider web on an x-ray. My knee, so like when you get your ACL repaired, they put 2 screws in there, one in the top and one in the bottom to like hold everything in place. My knee was a wreck. My hips were off because of my knee.
Like overcompensating and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had dislocated my thumb one season, which I was super nervous about because I'm a guitar player, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like when I started making the transition, because I lived in Europe for a third year. I loved Leeds so much, and I had like a great network. My best friends in the world. I made my best friends in the world aside from my lifelong best friend. Those were my best friends in the world, and I wanted to stick around. So
you were there for 3 years.
I stayed an extra year. Yeah.
Wow. And we're at Leeds.
In Leeds, yeah. And I just traveled, right? I got a Ryanair flight to Rome, or I got on the train and went to Channel and went to Paris, and I was just like,
that's unreal.
All over the
By
continent.
yourself out there?
Most of the time. Yeah.
Now, while you're out there and like, you're hungry and you're trying to like make a name for yourself still on the court, you're still playing music heavy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had my guitar FedExed. My dad's friend owned, and I think they still own a manufacturing shop across from the Elizabeth Giant Eagle, like catty corner from the Elizabeth Giant Eagle up Lovedale. And he had a FedEx account, so he could get me like a huge discount on shipping my guitar to myself.
Wow.
So we leveraged that so I could have my guitar and not have to buy one.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Are you playing like any sort of like open mics or shows?
Straight up, that's all I could play. Nobody was going to book me for any. Eventually, I got booked for gigs.
Yeah.
But
you were out there playing like open mics and stuff too?
Yeah, dude. I was like playing
that's
open
awesome.
mic night on a Friday night, and I would maybe have like a half pint of beer because I had a game on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I would like be in an open mic in a pub at an open mic until like 11 o'clock on a Friday, and then I'm getting up and getting in the van with the team, and we're off to Sheffield or wherever.
That's so sick that it's just like two completely different main focuses of your life that you shared, and I mean, obviously it panned out now. I mean, everything's great, but that's such a cool origin story of it all. It's like basketball was a huge part of life, and now music kind of kept with it. It's just wild to think about all that. I didn't know you were over there for 3 years playing. I didn't know kind of the origins of how that kind of transpires, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to hear. So, I mean, in this time where basketball kind of falls behind in your life, when does it like at any point are you like, I want to be a career musician?
Yeah. So I got to sidestep something I think that a lot of athletes have to walk through, and that's the void that's left when the game is over.
Yeah.
So, someday you play your last real game.
Yeah.
You might play pickup here and there or summer league, but like as an actual like professional or a college athlete, like you never experience that again.
Yeah.
And the locker room is the best part, just like the brotherhood in the locker room and like living life with people and doing life together. I got to sidestep like the void and walking through like the tragedy of the vacuum of that space, because I instantly just pushed music in there because I was like, this is great, this is done, this is okay, here we go.
That's pretty fascinating to think about.
Yeah, dude. So I had a band over there called Mike Medved and the Redcoats, because they were all a bunch of British guys that I was friends with. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we have like this old school music video on YouTube that someone from Leeds College got a Red Epic camera, which is what they used to film like Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So there's like this sick like music video from back then.
Wow.
Filmed in like a pub in Leeds.
That's crazy.
So I was definitely trying to do it, and there was a short time where I was in with Communion, which is the record label started by Ben Lovett of Mumford and Sons.
Really?
Yeah. So I was playing showcases for them at a place called Oporto, which is a great bar in the city center of Leeds.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When did you move back here?
Oh man, 2012. My dad sent me a letter, and my grandma was getting old, and like it was just kind of like it's time to come home letter, and I was like, oh man, like you are right, like everything you're saying is right, but like I'm really enjoying like this whole thing. Yeah.
Man, that is wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you come back here, and like, what does life look like when you come back here? Because obviously, you're playing basketball out there, and I mean, you're getting paid to play basketball, right?
Yeah.
So you get paid to play basketball out there, and like, you obviously, that's your career. Mm-hmm. If that part of your career is over, what do you come back home and do?
Yeah. Live with my parents.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, you have to, right?
Yeah, you do. I mean, I was back in my childhood bedroom for a year before I had enough money saved up to buy a house. So the house that I bought was down the street from my wife's bakery, that's a really cool story, because I go wandering down the street like a doofus, and I'm like, hey, I bought a house up the street, but like, are any of your high school friends around, and do they need a roommate? I'm looking for some roommates. That's my first conversation with Hillary when I moved back to Elizabeth. She still gives me grief about that. Like, you asked me if I knew anyone that could be your roommate. I'm like, yeah, I did. That was no game at all. Like,
No
zero game
at all.
Negative game.
Now, I mean, so you're a teacher now.
Yeah.
But when did that, like, were you going to school to be a teacher? Whenever?
Yeah, that was my major at St. Vincent.
Okay, yeah.
So I lived with my parents. I got my teaching job, and then I became a real boy again and got out of the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a wild sort of like, meandering path.
It's crazy, dude. And I was gigging a lot, like the Trailside in West Newton.
Yeah.
And Green Dance Winery in Mount Pleasant. Those two places gave me my first paid gigs here in this country. Like, I did have a full year, almost a full year, maybe like 7 or 8 months. Oh man, dude, I wish we had like days, because I never talk about this stuff, and now that we're talking about it, the Rolodex of memories is starting to flow a little bit.
That's good. I like to hear that, because like this is really like a therapy session for people that I come in here.
Yes, bro, it sure is, man.
Because I ask people questions that like you said, they just don't think about it, because like you're living life.
Yeah.
But so like 2013, you're starting to get paid gigs back here.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that point in time, are you writing your own music, and you're you're like really hitting it hard as trying to be like a musician?
Yeah, so I was coming home every summer during the basketball off seasons. And and I had a band here too. So I had Mike Medved and the Redcoats. Say your own name, buddy.
Yeah.
It's our last name.
Yeah.
Jeez, don't fumble it, man. You're on the podcast.
And then you had Mike Medved band here, right?
Yeah. So my buddies Jeremy, Seth, and Ted were in the band here, and we were playing Club Cafe and Deutschtown Music Festival. And I was trying. I was genuinely trying. Like, with having some perspective, looking back, like, it wasn't maybe like a thing that was going to make it, but I wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was before I took a couple years of voice lessons as well. I think that was probably a bit of a game changer. I'd love to sing those songs with today's voice, but like back then, that was. Yeah.
So you, I mean, I know now that you were telling me that you had like a vocal coach and everything now. Now, I mean, did you have any sort of like training back then? Like you were learning your own shit, right?
Like, did you have Mrs. Berna in high school?
Yeah.
Dude, so like chorus, mad props to her for being like a chorus teacher. But that's the extent of my training. And I don't know if we could call like even the best high school chorus teacher in the world. There's 100 kids in chorus class. Yeah. You're not getting training. You're in chorus. Guidance. Yeah. So no, I was just singing my shoulda, coulda, wouldas the best way I knew how.
Wow. That's pretty cool that like, I mean, obviously you're passionate about it enough to keep after it. And if you're, playing basketball and then you come back here and you're still playing music, you're obviously, it's still a passion of yours. So hearing that you like go and you get vocal lessons and everything like that, it's cool to hear about. Now, when you like, when do you put out the first album with, Country Limousine and stuff like that? What year is that? Man.
So that was just before the pandemic. So I ran a Kickstarter at the end of 2018, kind of into 2019, and raised like $10,000, which is, I'm still super thankful for that whole thing. Like, there was a lot of really incredible people involved with that. And the proof of concept was Country Limousine. So I was going back and forth to Nashville and, meeting people and being encouraged by certain people to work with a producer and get this song going. And it was a wonderful experience. And that was the proof of concept to kind of launch the Kickstarter. And my man Tyson Coute, shout out Tyson, he was the producer on that track. He had just moved to Nashville from Toronto, and he's a long-standing music professional. He worked in TV and film for a long time, and he was also getting himself into the Nashville scene in a different lane.
Yeah.
And his talent was just unreal, man. So he worked on that project with me, and then continued for the next 2 of the 4 songs I did in total. So he was on the first 3 songs as the producer, and he organized like some big-time Nashville cats to play on the session. And but the pandemic just killed it, man. It just absolutely killed it. Like, I didn't get to work with him on the 4th song. I didn't even know if the 4th song would get finished.
Yeah, what a weird time in life.
What a weird time, man. Yeah, I didn't fly back down there anymore. We had our second kid, so I definitely wasn't getting on an airplane.
Yeah. Now, at this point in time, before you started that adventure with like making your own album, like, are you playing weddings at this point?
Yeah.
When does that start?
Maybe not like as full time as I am now. That started early, dude. the assistant basketball coach for the women's team, who is now the head women's coach at St. Vincent, Jimmy Petruska, he got married to Kelly, and I owe them all of my business model. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. They asked me if I could play their first dance live.
Really?
And I was
what
like,
year is this?
This is, I don't even know, 2010. It was the year after I graduated from college. They got married.
Oh, wow. So it was like, that was your first time
It was my first time playing a wedding. And I don't even know.
Wow.
I don't know anything about weddings. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I was a busboy at a country club for my first job, Yacht Country Club,
Yeah.
right? So I've actually been seeing weddings since I was 15.
Yeah, but you're not like, paying attention really.
No, I'm worried about like if I'm going to have to move that tray jack, or like if someone's going to knock over their soup.
Were you nervous about singing their song?
No, it was a tough song. It was "Come What May" from the musical Moulin Rouge.
Okay.
So like, that's a tough song, and that's a female vocal on that song. So like I kind of had to adapt it in my own thing. But
did you ever have nerves? Were you like a nerve person?
I'm not a nerve person.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a basketball thing.
I was just gonna say it probably is because you've been an athlete for your entire life.
Yeah, there's some really high stakes that you encounter in that world.
Yeah.
And I came to realize like you either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to be nervous. It's either going to happen or it's not. And if it doesn't happen, then do it the next time. Like your nerves aren't going to affect this situation. If they're going to affect it, they're going to affect it negatively. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't nervous at all.
So that was 2010.
That was 2010. And I never thought of playing a live first dance for someone at their wedding. Like,
yeah, I saw, obviously I see what you post recently where you're playing, that's more often now.
Yeah.
But
that's I feel like that's a main draw to like one of my, my offering as a wedding musician and DJ is like I can play your ceremony live, do all the musical things, but I'll be a regular, not regular, trying to be a great DJ on the turntables. Yeah. But if it's time for your first dance, I'll step back out and we'll play that live, and we'll have like a unique magic moment for you with all your friends and family. Like, yeah. But Jimmy and Kelly, man, they asked me to do it, and I was like, this can be a thing. Yeah.
So that right there is like kind of where you get the idea from, because obviously, my thought of it is like at this point in life, whenever you like move home from being overseas, it's like you're obviously, you're an adult. You have to think about the things that come with being an adult. You're paying bills. You're building a life. So you obviously need to figure out a way to monetize, your music career, and gigging is definitely great and you're earning your stripes. But like, I don't imagine that like in the beginning, gigging is paying your bills fully, but like, working weddings and stuff like that, it's more of like a lucrative type of way to play your music, obviously, right? So whenever you try to like get that mindset of I'm gonna be an event and wedding musician, how does that kind of come to be? Where does it graduate from just like, I'm gonna try to make my own music, I'm just gigging around, to I'm gonna be an event musician like this?
Yeah, that's a bit more of like a somber but mature part of the story. When our oldest son Simon was born, he went into the NICU of Children's Hospital because he was an emergency C-section kid, and like in his 13th hour of life, he started having seizures. And we were very surprised by that because we thought he kind of made it out of the clear. He came out and he was under distress, but they do this really cool thing, skin to skin. And, Hillary had an emergency C-section, so she's being repaired. So I'm the one like skin to skin with Simon. And when he came out, he was in distress. And so when he finally was able to take his first breath, he popped both of his lungs, which is, it sounds, it's all going to sound crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That sounds more serious than it is. It's called a pneumothorax, and infants have paper thin lungs. They often resolve on their own within a day or two. So it's not like a life-threatening thing, but he had some other things going on we didn't know of at the time because he had lost some oxygen. So he has the pneumothorax. We go skin to skin. His breathing normalizes. And so, I'm like, okay, we're out. We're good. We're in the clear. But he wouldn't like fully settle all night. And then in the morning, a nurse caught him having seizures. And then he didn't stop having seizures. So he had like a continual seizure for like a couple hours before they gave him medicine.
Jeez.
And then he was eventually transferred to West Penn. And then after a night at West Penn NICU, he was transferred over to Children's. And we were in there for 3 weeks. And our life took a pretty dramatic turn with Simon's story. So, kind of where he is now, that loss of oxygen kind of that was in and around the emergency C-section time, that led to a brain injury, and the brain injury is the root cause of him having cerebral palsy or cerebral palsy. People say it different ways. We just call it CP. Most people say CP. So if you ever meet someone that has like a really tight kind of posture, spastic tight muscles, or really loose muscles, or mixed, it can present in a big spectrum. Sometimes it's just a leg affected, sometimes it's a whole body that's affected, but the root cause of that condition is always a loss of oxygen that led to a brain injury. So things took a very different complexion in our life, and so I had to think like kind of from a holistic perspective. How can I most positively affect like our scenario? Because it goes from being about like me to we. Like it's about me, and then you get married and you're like, it's about we, but like it's still a lot about me. When
yeah,
that's okay, that's all right. It's nice, like that's a nice part of the equation.
Yeah,
when you have kids, there is no me. There's not even the option of me. That is we, and it's mostly really just them.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of we. So I'm thinking through this like big picture, and I'm like, okay, well I'm currently going out and I'm gigging like 6-8 nights a month easily. And even like the Trailside in West Newton, they pay a band $300. Well, there's 4 people in the band.
Yeah, but
the going rate for a musician in this era is like $100 a night. So I'm going to the Trailside. I'm setting up a PA, which takes like an hour and a half. We play a 3-hour night. I'm tearing down the PA. And because I'm passionate about what I'm doing, I'm handing Jeremy, Seth, and Ted $100, and I'm not taking any money. I might grab a couple bucks out of the tip jar if there was one. And I don't want this to sound fully utilitarian, because a big part of this story is I loved working weddings. It's like I'm very passionate about working for people on their wedding day because I trust myself to do that for them. I'm not saying I wouldn't trust anyone else, but I know that like game's on the line, biggest moment of your life, no detail too small. Like my whole professional athlete life has informed my life as a wedding musician, because these are huge stakes. This is the person's like probable one wedding day they're ever going to have. And when the bride's walking down the aisle and you're supposed to be playing and singing this specific part, it needs to be perfect. Like you can't make mistakes in that moment. You can't have some janky sound equipment that's like going to malfunction at an important part of a ceremony. Like every minute detail in this environment matters. And my personality has always been every minute detail matters. And as an athlete, it was because I want to help my team win the game, because I want us to win.
Yeah.
Now I show up to work for someone on their wedding day and I'm like, I want us to win. I want the bride and groom and the wedding vendors and the wedding planner and the venue and the guests. I want everyone to win. And I know what that takes and I know what that looks like. So I don't want this transition to sound fully utilitarian, because there's a huge love and passion for working for people on their wedding day. Practically speaking, from our family, though, I could go out 2 times a month instead of 8 times a month, and I could be a dad more to my son and support my wife, who's a small business owner, and just kind of strike a little bit of a different balance. I don't work less. I work more as a wedding musician, but my work hours can look like me sitting at a computer when everybody's asleep and prepping for a wedding or rehearsing songs or updating a website or whatever, instead of I'm playing bar gigs 8 nights a month. So that's kind of where it took the turn. And then it was blessing on blessing after that, because the need was met. Like when the shift happened, there wasn't any resistance to the shift. It just like evolved into this cool, beautiful thing that it has become, which I'm grateful for, because I'm not in control of that.
Yeah.
Like I'm in control of my effort and I'm in control of my next steps, but I'm not in control of the results. I'm not in control of couples finding me or whatever. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What year was he born?
2018.
So 2018.
I say that birthday on the phone 1,000,000 times a week, bro. What's his birthday?
So 2018 is like really whenever that transition started to come to be.
Yeah.
And for you to kind of make that transition, what, like I'm trying to gauge, like, so obviously a gigging musician where you're out certain however many nights a month, like what does that look like as far as like are you just emailing places trying to like get out there and get your name out there and like kind of fill dates, and like how does that look from what you're doing to approach the wedding world, like to get yourself known in a wedding world? Because I would assume that they don't always just like
not a lot in common. Yeah. Man, that's a great question. Yeah, so getting gigs in Western Pennsylvania can be really easy or it can be really tough. It kind of depends on what your offering is, and if you bring people to the venue. But to be honest, does your friend play here, and can your friend tell the venue that you'll do a great job and you're trustworthy and professional?
Yeah.
I'm something I'm passionate about now that I'm not in the gigging world as much, is helping younger musicians get into the gigging world who might want to, because I have 15 years of contacts in the Western Pennsylvania event world.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what that looks like. The wedding world, I mean, I did list myself on the Knot and eventually got on Berg Brides, which is a really cool kind of Pittsburgh specific curated version. I don't want to call it a version of the Knot, because it's not. The only thing they have in common is you list yourself on a database, but
yeah,
Berg Brides
is like a general contractor with a bunch of different vendors that are through there.
Yes, and like curated as well. Like Veronica kind of vets people. She doesn't let anybody in. So shout out Berg Brides. Shout out Antoinette as well, because you know how many years I've been hearing, are you related to Antoinette Medved when I'm in the wedding world?
I know. Mike Medved as a wedding and event musician, and then Antoinette Medved makeup as a wedding and event makeup artist.
Yeah.
That's what she would come home and she'd be like, another person asked me if I'm related to Mike Medved. And I mean, it makes sense. I can understand it. The wedding world is very interesting. Me being someone who's not involved in it directly, once removed, I'm pretty savvy about how those waters are navigated. And I kind of observe things through what she does, obviously, because I'm passionate about supporting her, and like I try to familiarize myself with her world as much as I am with mine, because like we kind of we don't have children, so like our side hustles are what we focus our time on. So like if I could do anything to add to her life and make it make an improvement in something that I might recognize, and it's vice versa with her. It's like she sees what I'm doing, she familiarizes with her with what I'm doing. So it's kind of it's interesting to see. But for you to get your name out there and start to like become a recognizable name in the wedding world, I mean, did that take a long time?
Oh man, I don't know, because when we were having our pierogies here to our pre-podcast pierogies, and Antoinette was here, she said, I hear your name, I recognize your name, and to me, I'm like, I'm 12 years in as a professional wedding and event musician, and I think that's the first time anyone's ever said that to me. So that was really humbling and really cool. Because I guess I don't pay a lot of attention to like, am I well known? Yeah. My biggest concern is, and that's a great question. I don't want to minimize the question. I guess I'm just not paying attention to it. My biggest concern is like, are my couples happy? Yeah. And I guess if your couples are happy, then they're going to tell you about other people that you get an opportunity to work with.
That's a good point. Yeah, word of mouth, it travels. I had a great experience with him, and it kind of just goes from there.
Yes.
But in the beginning, it's interesting to try to, navigate that, I'm sure.
Beginning's tough, dude. And I owe a lot of credit to I mean, we were kids back then. We were not really kids. We were in our early 20s. So I was going to call her a girl. She's a mom. She's a married wife with kids. She's a woman. Sarah Rose, incredible person. She's got a flower company called the Twisted Rose. They do food truck and catering. They're so crazy story. I'm playing a place. Remember Peachin's out in like?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm playing a place that was related to Peachin's. It's called Peachin's Firehouse Cafe, and I remember Sarah and her friend Ashley Bailey, they were there, and they asked me a couple of things about music, but they were just hanging out. I didn't know they were like in the event world, and I didn't take them very serious. I was probably like 24, 25. And eventually what that rolled into is I worked a wedding that they were planning, and the couple didn't exactly know what they wanted. They thought they wanted what I did, but they didn't, and I came to realize that. So I became an accidental DJ. So here's what happened. I play the ceremony, everything's great. I play the cocktail hour, everything's great. What they promised me that they wanted was for me to play solo acoustic guitar for 4 more hours throughout the reception. And again, I'm like 23, 24 years old. Now I know, even when someone says that, I know you don't really want that.
Yeah.
You can't, no one can listen. I mean, even like my favorite, like John Mayer's solo tour, I was there for like 3 hours in Cleveland. It's the greatest concert memory of my life. Could I have done it for 5 or 6 hours? I'm not sure. I don't think anyone can hold court on solo acoustic guitar for like 5 or 6 straight hours.
Yeah.
So I took a break after my first 45 minutes, and that was kind of generally, okay, I'm playing Superstition. I got a looping pedal, so I'm trying to build the sound a little bit and make it groovy for people to dance. I take a break. I put on break music. The dance floor just gets packed, and everybody's like just dancing. And I'm like, these people need a DJ.
Yeah.
They don't need me.
Yeah.
So I talked to Sarah, and I'm like, this is my plan. I'm going to play 15 minutes live as slow songs, and the 45 minutes that were meant to be my live sets are now going to be DJ sets. And she was like, that's a great plan. And the couple loved it. I loved it. And so boom, my like first wedding was, I'm an accidental DJ. And I've just was a DJ ever since. I never offered to play a dance floor reception as a solo guitar player ever again.
Yeah. That's interesting. See, whenever I, started seeing you play music, I'm like, hey, this dude's really playing weddings for 4 hours just on a guitar. But now that
it would be brutal, dude. Nobody would want that.
Well, now that I'm hearing it, I'm like, I guess that does make sense. But your model that you do, you offer, the live dance. You offer, obviously people walking up, as the couple's walking away. Mm-hmm. So it's like you add both aspects of it all, of like that intimate, acoustic set, and then you get in there with the good music. So, I mean, how do you, first of all, as a musician, not just necessarily a wedding musician, but like you build a book of songs that you play, right? It's like, how much do you rehearse these things? Like, is this something, are you someone that's just like, you mentioned being militant about, athletics and stuff like that. Are you the same way with music?
Yeah, bro. Cause my whole life story is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Like I've never been the most talented person in the room. Like, and that's actually been a goal of mine. If I'm the most talented person in the band, if I'm the most talented person in the team, if I'm the strongest person in the weight room, I'm in the wrong space, bro. Like, I've always prided myself on being just talented enough to be the least talented person in a really great environment.
Yeah, I like that.
And I have to work hard to get there because my natural abilities, I had some natural ability toward basketball, but it was like, of my full basketball game, my natural ability was like 10% of it. The rest of it was just graft.
Yeah.
And it's the same with music. Like, my voice is my voice. Like, I was given that voice. I did have 2 different vocal coaches that I used kind of intermittently. So one, I had Professor Walter Weaver out of Mon City, which was a great kind of year and a half of my life, and then set that down to just perform. Like, I felt like, okay, everything changed in a way I'm happy with, and I just kept in shape with that. Then I got COVID, and then I couldn't sing, and then I got Shelby Rollins on. She's out of Nashville, but we did it virtually, and she helped me get my voice back and then taught me some new stuff. So like, those experiences were like almost 10 years apart though.
Wow.
So you're kind of given a voice, but you also work for a voice.
Yeah.
I guess all that's to say, like, yeah, I'm militant and I rehearse a lot because I'm in control of my effort. And if something goes wrong, I want it to be totally out of my control.
Yeah.
I want to be able to lay my head down on the pillow at night at 2 a.m. when I get in from the wedding and go, I did everything that I could possibly do for that couple.
Yeah, rather than you just being like, I wasn't ready for this situation.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't think of anything. I would have the worst guilt of my life if I knew that a mistake that was made on a wedding day was my fault because I didn't prepare.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about because obviously if you're gigging, it's like, I messed this up a little bit. We'll do it better the next time. But like a wedding,
and everyone's drinking at the bar
100%.
Or at the winery. Like, it's cool. It's fancy free.
But like a wedding is like, a one-time thing. You can't just redo that.
Dude, could you imagine hitting the wrong chord as the last chord of the song when like the couple is like, whether they're like finishing their first dance or like just chunking one out? Like,
I mean, like,
it would be record scratching.
You see stuff on like TikTok now of like bad things that happen. Like our wedding photos got deleted. Yeah.
Like, you don't have them.
I have like, terrible story. I had someone that I know take photos, and then he brought a second shooter. So, you know, he's a great photographer, but, you know, things just happened. But he came, and turns out I was like, you know, he took some photos of like our family and everything like that. And before the wedding, I was like, you know, you go with Antoinette and get her, and, you know, I'll take the second shooter, like whatever. They're both great, but the second shooter took photos of all me and my guys, and then he took all the photos of her and everything else of the photos, and his are the one that are gone. So I only got photos of me and my friends on our wedding day, and a couple from like our ceremony, but nothing really. None of our family at the wedding, none of us standing with our family, and it's just like,
and it will always be that way.
Yeah,
that will never change, and that's tragic, bro.
Yeah, and
that's
you don't
tragic.
ever want to be like a part of that memory for someone on like a wedding day like that.
Never.
Now, so, you know, I mean, I'm sure like over the years you built like a, you know, like let's say, talk me through like the logistics of someone hiring you as a wedding musician. Like, you know, do people say like, I want these songs and everything like that? Or do you give them like a list? Like, I have these are songs that I play. You know, how does that really look?
Yeah, it's a great question. The thing I'm most proud of as a wedding and event musician is fitting into the vision that the people have. So I do have a process, but it's more of like guidelines, and it's very flexible.
Yeah.
So if someone reaches out and, you know, they start the inquiry process, you know, I'll message them back with like a little questionnaire, and they can tell me a little bit more about their vision, and then they define like what they're interested in. Because some people just want cocktail hour and reception. Some people want the whole day. At this point in my career, it's very rare for me to work like just a ceremony, because then I'm locked up that Saturday, and people want me 2 years in advance. Like I have bookings all the way out. So,
hell yeah.
Like for me to get locked up in 2027 for just a ceremony when somebody else needs me for a full day, like I gotta.
Yeah, people want Antoinette one day for one person to do makeup on a Saturday, and she's like, "I'm sorry, you know, it's a prime Saturday. I can't do it."
Yes. It's and that's something that we walk through as professionals, and most people are very understanding. But that's one of the reasons why weddings they command a certain level of customer care and professionalism, because you're agreeing to do something 2 years in advance on a prime Saturday of the year, right?
Yeah.
So we get all that defined. What do they need? Do they need ceremony, cocktail hour, reception, just cocktail hour, reception, you know, that kind of stuff. I send them a lot of really great supporting documents. So we'll get on a video call, and I'll just chat them through like, hey, this is kind of the ecosystem. This is I call them like the pillars of my business. It's flow and aesthetic. Everything I do, I run through. How will this flow on your wedding day, and what will it look like? So right down to like where our speakers are located. Because if you think of a place like the Pennsylvania Hotel Monaco, Omni William Penn, or like somewhere out in the countryside, like Tucked In Farm up in Vauwinkle, or you know, we were just at Willowbrook Weddings up in Volant, PA, like beautiful places. Okay, wedding photographers, right? Beautiful shots. They don't want your speaker in there. And I know like with AI and Photoshop, it's probably less intrusive now, but it's still part of the experience for the people that are there. So like I just explain like what we stand on, like what our business stands on, what's important to us, and then I give them some resources. I do have like frequently played song lists, but the like thing I love to communicate to people is these lists are for inspiration. They are not to constrain you. Like you can tell me any song that you ever want in the whole world, and as long as it's not like Pachelbel or Mozart or something that physically is too hard for me to play on a guitar because it's like old school classical, I got you.
Yeah.
Because like that's a great excuse for me to do professional development. I don't wake up every morning and I'm like, I'm going to do some prof dev today. Like, let's go. What am I going to work on to make myself? I do that in a lot of ways, but it's not always my first thought because I have so many other aspects of my business that need my attention.
Yeah.
So I don't always just like pick a song and I'm like, maybe I'll learn this because someone might want it.
But that's an opportunity whenever people approach you.
Yes, dude. And I love that. Someone hit me with this like, it was a song called 1,000 Times by Life. I can't even say it. It's like a German name. I never heard it before. Most people haven't heard it before. It was on YouTube with like just 20-some thousand views. Bro, I learned it for their first dance. It's like one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like the idea, what you just said. I give people like frequently played lists as like inspiration. Now, just to humor me, like what is that? Like how many songs are on that list? Something like that. Is that like hundreds? You know,
I don't want to overwhelm people.
Yeah.
So I give them two lists. the first list is like a 2-page PDF, and it looks real pretty. I made it in Canva, you know, whatever. It's part of the brand. You know? You got to keep it looking good. The second list is the link to my Ultimate Guitar app song database.
Oh,
so like,
wow.
If you want, you know, the just kind of tried and true, like here's some good songs. You got 2 pages.
All
right
of Me,
here.
John Legend, stuff like that.
Yeah. Isn't she lovely? Stevie Wonder. There's like Luke Combs. Like I put all the genres on there. There's Beatles and there's country and there's, you know, PJ Morton's version of How Deep Is Your Love, like the famous Bee Gees song. Like I love that tune. So there's that. And then if you really want to get into it, you have the option and you can click this link and it will take you through. I mean, I have like almost 2,000 songs, maybe more on like my app.
Wow.
One of the things I'm like secretly proud of, you can play a song for me once, and as long as I have the chord chart in front of me, I can play the whole thing. I'm good.
Wow.
Like I don't have to go over it a million times. Now to perfect it for someone's wedding day, I do go over it a million times. But if like you're trying to quiz me up real quick, play a song, I get the chord chart, I'll play the whole thing.
That's what I was just going to say. Like if I had that 2,000 list on guitar, what's it called?
Ultimate Guitar.
And I just click a random song, like you could play these. Yeah, just off rip.
Yeah, we're good.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so like, that's insane to think about. Just because like I don't play music, so it's wild to me. Like I've listened to Ready to Die by Biggie Smalls back to front 1,000 times. Yeah, I still don't know all the lyrics.
It's tough, man.
I don't know how like is there times where you don't remember lyrics? Or are you pretty good with it?
I'm more likely to forget a chord than I am a lyric.
Yeah.
So like I'll know the lyric and I'll be like, oh, what's the chord change on this lyric? Because I'm very like melody and word driven. That's probably my musical gifting. One thing that I don't get to do often, but I love to do the most is sing without playing guitar. Like if you just give me a mic and I can get my body in like a perfect singer's posture and I can just rip and not worry about what my right arm is doing and what the chord changes are, I feel like my singing is like 10% better. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it blows me away every time I go to a live performance of anything, and there's people that are like, there's a local band who had a drummer that would, you know, sing and scream at one point, and I'm like, that is literally mind blowing to me. That this dude, and like they're heavy. I don't know if you've ever heard of Code Orange. Very, very heavy, but this dude's just like ripping on these drums. He's just the lead singer, but like he was just on these drums ripping and like singing at the same time, and I'm like, it's mind blowing to me to like, you know, just think of that. You know, anyone that's playing any instrument and singing at the same time, because like, you know, you're able to, you know, do both of these things, like, you know, it's just wild. Yeah. But I can hierarchy those for you. I'm passionate about that one. So like singing and playing guitar, singing and playing keys, I feel like that's the easiest way to sing and play an instrument. But then drums would be, in my mind, most difficult. But like dudes like Sting and Paul McCartney that are playing the bass and singing, that is otherworldly to me. The bass. They sing and play bass, and I feel like that is the wildest shit, because they are playing notes that they're not singing. So like they have to be thinking of a specific bass run that they're doing while singing a totally different melody in a totally different rhythm. Because like, wow, you know, Roxanne, like he's doing that and he's singing Roxanne, wow, and it's not related. Like, I mean, it's in the same key, but it's but like the rhythm is different than like the whole thing. Damn, that's pretty wild. People who sing and play bass are like, they're aliens to me, that's pretty wild to think about. I guess I never thought about it like that. Yeah. Now, I mean, so the way that the wedding goes down, you get there, I mean, are you pretty, you know, are you like preparing beforehand, or is it, you know, like how do you prepare before someone's wedding? You know, like what do you do? Like, do you run through like a set that you're going to play, or is it kind of just like, you know, improv, you know, whenever you get there? As far as like the music? Yeah, like music like that. Yeah, so the guests or the couple will choose the music. So that's nice, because I know that I'm playing what they love. Yeah. Even for cocktail hour, sometimes couples will say, hey, of these, you usually get like 15 or 16 songs in an hour of music. Yeah. So sometimes couples will say, hey, of like the 16 that we need, here's 5 we love, fill in the rest based on these 5. Okay, cool. You know, sometimes people are like, here's all 16. Every once in a while, someone will just say, we love country, just play your favorite country.
So it just depends on their personality, which is what I'm proud of, being able to just fit into people's personality and vision, because some people are very type A and they want to choose everything. And you know what I say to that? That sounds great. I'm going to execute the hell out of your vision. Yeah. And other people are like, I actually don't know anything about any of this. And I say, that's fine. Let's have some conversations. I'll learn a little bit about you.
Let go and let God. Do what you do.
Yeah. We'll bring it to life. Like, it's cool. Like, I love both of it. It keeps it fresh, So when I show up on the wedding day, I have a sound team that arrives before me, and they get all the equipment set up. Everything's sound checked. It's all looking good. It's all sounding good. At that point, we're just walking through sound check and equipment checks. Like, I'm just, because every room sounds different. So if I'm on a live first dance at the Pennsylvania versus outside, like, you need to turn off the reverb or turn on the reverb or whatever, so we're just kind of doing a systems check, like a NASA pilot, right? Like, it's just all systems go, everything's good. Yeah. Get our sound checks. I live record everything. So everything that you hear on my Instagram is authentic, which I'm very proud of that as well, because I want people who are window shopping on my Instagram, if they're curious about using me, I want them to hear like real me.
The real product.
Yeah, because if you go on Instagram, like, there's some people, I'm not going to name names, and they're not like Pittsburgh people, so it's not like me talking trash, but there's people that have obviously re-recorded the vocals and auto-tuned the hell out of them. Like, the one guy singing in the New York subway, and and everybody's grandma's like, this sounds great, and the train comes in and stops, and you don't hear the train at all, and I'm like, hi guys, this is not real. Like, this is not real. So if you go on my Instagram and you hear like a live first dance, that's from that moment. And I don't have time to re-record it anyway. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's wild nowadays to think about it. I mean, like, with everything with like, AI and like, video editing and things like that. Yeah, bro. It's pretty crazy to think about.
You could take your voice and put it through AI and it'll sing a song for you.
I know. It's so crazy that the world that we're in now. But for you to, navigate waters as a wedding an event DJ and musician, I mean, what do you think the hardest part of your job is?
Oh, it's a great question. What's the hardest part of the job? The hardest part of the job can be, but is not always, interacting with the venue. Yeah. So
Antoinette said the same thing.
I will name names on this one because I'm never going back to this spot, bro. University Club Pittsburgh. Okay. I send them an email 3 weeks in advance, which 2 to 3 weeks is sweet spot. Yeah. You don't want to send anybody an email earlier than that because they have weddings every weekend. Yeah. They don't want to talk to you, and I respect that.
Yeah, and too far out, they don't even remember it.
Right. So I send a thing. Here's the itinerary the couple has decided upon. Now, mind you, the couple did not hire a wedding coordinator. Yeah. They hired. That sometimes happens. There's some great wedding planners out there. I love working with wedding planners and coordinators. The venue had a coordinator. Mm-hmm. So I email, no response. All right, I'll give it a little bit of time. I give it another week. I email again, hey, here's the itinerary. Let me know if you have questions. I get this super heavy-handed response back. This is the actual itinerary. This is what you will be doing. It will go this way. I'm like, okay, well, in my meetings with the couple, because I do have a lot of lead-up meetings because it's important to me to know what they want so I can do what they want.
Absolutely.
In my meetings with the couple, they decided on this order. So is what you're sending me a recent change by the couple? Because there's also this delicate balance. You can't be bothering your couples. Yeah. You can't, it's not like going back and forth tattletale. The venue said this. What do you guys think? Professionals handle things behind the scenes. We're not burdening our couples with these types of issues, right? So long story short, the venue is insistent upon this is the order of event, da-da-da-da-da. No, you can't do this. Yes, you can't have that. Like, it was just like a lot of, we don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't care that you're a professional DJ reaching out in advance. Okay, fair enough. So I show up to do my job on the wedding day, as I would, because I don't care about the venue. I care about my couple. Yep. So I'm going to do things despite the venue for my couple. Cocktail hour's generally fine. It's just me playing guitar in the corner of a room. So, not much can really go wrong there. Okay, so we get to the reception. And the order of events was not what the couple wanted. So I'm on the fly going back to what they wanted. And I'm able to do that without blinking because I prepared. I kind of had a feeling that this was off. So the fun comes in when the venue takes the cake away before the couple had a chance to cut the cake. Now, living in the bakery world that my wife and her twin sister live in, I know how cakes are delivered. Okay, you have a cake that is mostly styrofoam. Yep. really tall, beautiful cake, but it's all styrofoam. It's just decorated styrofoam.
Yep.
And there's like a little section that you cut.
Yep.
Okay. And they deliver sheet cakes, and that's what gets served to the guest. Or you want an all real cake, because some people want an all real cake. So, you know, if it's a 3-tier all real cake, here we go, rock and roll. Like, we're 3-tier all real, let's go. They had a 3-tier all real cake, and I knew that because I could see it by the look of it. I know I can spot that. So I look at the cake table and it's empty, and I'm the MC, bro. So I'm the one saying, hey, ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the cake table. It's now time for the cutting of the cake. And I fade in, how sweet it is to be loved by you, or whatever song they choose, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do that yet.
Yeah.
They didn't cut the cake yet. Why is the cake going away? So, bro, I've already had problems with the venue that I have not said so far, but I bust through these kitchen doors, and it's like, again, cheesy Disney movie. Like, you can't make this stuff up. There is someone with a knife, like, coming down on the cake because the kitchen is too worried about cutting the cake to serve it to the guests.
Yeah, they didn't realize that the couple has not had a chance to have their first piece.
Because it's an all real cake, bro.
My goodness.
I bust through the door. I see the knife. Nobody move. I'm yelling, nobody move. Don't touch that cake. Put the knife down. They looked at me like I was nuts.
Yeah.
I said, I'm the DJ. They thought I was a guest. I'm the DJ. They didn't cut the cake. Put the knife down. They bring the cake back out. Couple has the cutting of the cake. They take the cake away.
My goodness.
And then I go over to the venue manager. Now we're dancing in full sunlight, full spotlights. They don't know how to work their lighting system. Oh, shit. In between the cake mishap and them not knowing how to turn their lights off so people could dance not in full brightness, they didn't know how to work their speakers. They have like zones in the hotel, whatever that place is. They're playing Frank Sinatra like down in the hotel lobby bar or whatever. But since it's all on one like iPad thing, you can pipe it into different spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's my honor to introduce the father of the bride, Mr. So-and-so. Let's give him a warm welcome as he gives the welcome toast. Everybody claps, okay? Clapping dies down. Hey, everybody, you know, I'm honored to be here, blah, blah, blah. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Now, who has the speakers in the room, Chad?
Yeah.
Who has the speakers?
That's crazy.
I have the speakers. Everyone's looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm standing behind 2 giant towers of speakers. I'm like, it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my laptop. I'm looking at my turns. I'm looking at it, and it's not me.
That's a shame.
I go over to the venue manager in the corner. Excuse me, ma'am. Can you please turn the house music off during speeches? There shouldn't be house music on at all. She thought I was a guest. Yeah. She just went, okay, sure. I'm like, hello?
Yeah.
It was the most train wrecky venue. So the hardest, sorry for the long answer. The hardest part is sometimes, but not always, the venue. You have venues out there that care so much and they're so pro, but you walk into a venue like that has constant staff rollovers because they don't treat their staff right.
It's so fascinating to hear your end of it all, and like knowing with Antoinette, I mean, she's 8 years into this, so like she's definitely had experiences like that, and anytime something goes wrong with her, you know, I'm the vent. You know, she tells me, she lets it fall onto me, because like you said, professionals are not bothering the couples about this. They're making it work because that is what makes them better than, you know, the next. And just hearing like your end of it all compared to hers is just like, you know, builds anxiety into me because like you're doing this while the wedding is happening, where she's doing things before the wedding is happening. So I don't know. It's just
the clock's ticking on her too. Exactly. She has to get the thing done by the time the bride and her girls have to go somewhere.
It's just like a chaotic environment for that day. I mean, everything is trying to, you know, you're trying to fit, you know, 7 pounds of shit into a 2-pound bag and into one day. And I don't know, it's overwhelming. Now, for you to, you know, navigate through your waters, I'm curious to know, you know, as a DJ, you obviously like, you know, you're talking and stuff like that throughout, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, do you? I mean, do you, obviously you enjoy that? I would assume, right?
Yeah, I do. I like facilitating fun. I like facilitating memorable events. So the thing I like the most is just providing the guidance from event to event so that people can enjoy their time. Yeah. I'm not shy on the microphone. I've never had an issue kind of public speaking. I've been asked to do it many times in different venues as well. One of my favorite honors of my life was to go back to St. Vincent College and speak to the graduating senior athletes about life. Like I do enjoy that a lot. Yeah. Just like, hey, here's a little bit of this or whatever. So yeah, I do it, but not in excess. You know, like for example, when it's time to cut the cake, I do not talk while they're cutting the cake. There are DJs out there that are going to like comment and say like, oh, is she going to be naughty or nice? Is he going to smash the cake? You know, get him in the face. It's like, bro, shut up.
Yeah.
It's their moment. Like, they don't need to hear you talking right now. Let them cut the cake. Let them have a bite. Let them kiss. Let the photographers take their photos in peace. Turn the microphone off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear because like that's like a part of your job that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, I'm introing everybody into the space.
Yeah.
You know, couple first time in, all of that.
I love that. Yeah, that's it. Got to be awesome to be able to like be there in the room and be able to experience, you know, all these, you know, maid of honor and groomsmen, you know, speeches.
Yeah, can we time out on that for a minute though? Every future maid of honor and groomsman who ever listens to this, do not say, for those of you who don't know me, bro, we know you now. You just got introduced.
Yeah,
the DJ just introduced you. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the maid of honor, Sally Smith, or whatever your name is. Bro, we know who you are.
That's a good point.
1,000 times a season I hear, for those of you who don't know me, it's like, first of all, half the room already knows you because you're the groom's bro.
Absolutely.
You're his homie or the bride, you know. That's all. It's just that's my one. So you got me talking about the university club thing, and like you opened up a gear.
Get fired up,
bro. You opened up a gear.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I know. I mean, and I feel like that. You know, I see Antoinette like repost things to her Instagram and things like that, where it's like, you know, not enough. Obviously, it's about the couple. You know, it's their day. It's about the couple, and then their family, and then their friends, and then you know the hierarchy is different, and not often is it thought, you know, about the vendors, and the vendors are really the people that are trying to facilitate this day for these people. So you know, to see the trials and tribulations and the things that vendors have to go through, I don't think people realize that. You know, I don't think people that are wedding planners and event owners, you know, recognize that. They're just like, they think you're just like, you know, puzzle pieces that they could like interchange in and out. But realistically, these are people that are providing a service that are, you know, trying, you know, to work with you to make the day go more smooth. So not often, I mean, you know, there's definitely situations where, you know, shit goes awry, but it's, you know, luckily it's not more common than it is. But whenever it is common, you know, like you said, it's a train wreck.
And it's easily avoidable more often than not. Like when I show up for a wedding day, I've already put 60 plus hours in on that particular couple's wedding day in prep.
Yeah.
Like an hour or two from someone else who's trying to like strong arm like a venue, like 15, 20 minutes even, like we could have avoided all of that. Yeah. So like I agree with you. It's not interchangeable puzzle pieces because when vendors show up, we've already prepped to the max. What you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. Like all this stuff
100%.
All the stuff under the water. It's the most important part. It's the stuff that's most often goes unseen.
Well, so you know, as a professional, as a someone who's, you know, pretty active and does a lot of work, it's like I'm curious to know, you know, how do you progress who you are as far as like the services you provide? Obviously, you know, you play music, you do the DJ things, you host, but like, you know, how do you, you know, basically, you know, elevate your services? Like, what do you do to practice? Does that make sense, that question?
Yeah. Oh man. So when you say elevate service, do you mean like to provide more services? Because we do. I mean, I now offer like full uplighting, photo booth, like that kind of stuff to elevate service. Or not
even just stuff like that, but how do you like, you know, basically like, you know, you know, it's not just like regular practice. Like obviously you're rehearsing music and stuff like that, but you know, do you do anything else to like, you know, get better at what you're doing?
I don't think there's a shortcut for time.
Yeah.
There is no shortcut for time. I think time and experience is a great, it's a great separator.
Yeah.
Like, there are DJs who are just starting out that are going to have phenomenal careers. They're not going to perform and act like they have been doing it for 12 years. I think just doing it and enjoying it and being passionate about it does increase your skill set and your presentation.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is the way I think about myself. Like I think about myself. I'm not just like, you know, when you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, you host a podcast, like that's nice little hobby. It's like, bro, this is not a hobby. Like, you're like super legit. This is not like just a guy asking people questions whenever. Like, you are a professional. I would imagine that you have that opinion of yourself. Is that correct?
100%. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a fan first when we got started, bro. So that's how I feel about myself. When you think of your aunts or whatever, you know, your relative hearing, oh, you're a musician. Oh, that's, well, good for you.
Yeah, you're still doing that little thing.
Yeah. When are you going to get a job?
Yeah.
You know, right.
100%.
It's like, this is my job.
Yeah.
This is my job. So I speak that over myself, and I feel that way about myself. I'm a professional. I was born and meant to do this. Even though I wasn't always doing it, I was born for a time and place such as this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm meant to be doing.
I like the answer, what you said about time and experience. You know, that really does, like, you know, it really does mean a lot, because, you know, we talked about this before we started recording, but just the instance of, you know, you had an experience where a couple's venue lost power, and someone reached out to me, my sister-in-law reached out to me and was like, do you know this Mike Medved guy? And I said, yes. And I said, why? And she said, well, Buzzy, who is someone that you work with, said that he just, you know, basically saved the night, because, you know, the electricity went down and he just, you know, pulled out the guitar and just started singing. You know, some people, maybe if they were new, maybe some people that might not have that as much experience you did, they might just kind of flounder in those situations. But yeah, you really can't, like, you know, that comes with time, I would imagine. You know, you just did what you felt was right in that time. And that's interesting to think about that. Also, you know, you mentioned to this, and I'm curious because I asked you to bring your guitar over, because I've asked other people that are musicians to come over and bring their guitar, and I've had the honor of having a bunch of different musicians in here. But you told me that you had like, you have a vocal coach and you do vocal warm-ups and stuff like that. So I'm curious to know, you know, things like this, when does this come in? Because whenever I say, like, what do you do to elevate yourself beyond weddings? And that's like something that popped into my mind. It's like you take measures to improve yourself and get better and sharpen your sword and, like, you know, hone in on your craft. And vocals, I mean, I would assume is one way to do it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I'm getting ready to offer piano as a service as well. I started playing during the pandemic, and I picked it up pretty quickly, but again, when someone's walking down the aisle and you're playing the piano and singing, you have to be damn sure you're not making a mistake.
Yeah.
So I'll play piano any day in a bar gig. Like, you want me to sit down at the Grand Concourse and play piano and sing? Like, I'm there yesterday. You know, I'm there tomorrow. Like, let me know I'm there. But on a wedding, like, it's a different level of standard.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. That I should have said that, but I didn't, and I just thought of it. I'm about cool. Ready, like, to just offer piano and singing for people coming down the aisle and other stuff too.
Yeah. Do you do lessons? Like, do you give people lessons? I know that you talked on that before, but you're not.
Nobody wants to take lessons from me, dude. I'm just like a self-taught hack as a musician. Like, it might come across well in presentation, but inside, I'm like the duck on the pond. Like, it looks really calm and cool on top.
On the bottom, you're flipper.
It's a mess.
What is now, you know, we talked about just going back to it again, I'm curious, you said you have a 30-minute vocal warm-up.
Yeah.
What, I mean, like, you know, you got to talk to me about this a little bit, because it's fascinating to me. You know, what goes on behind the scenes. You know, what kind of stuff goes into that? Is that something that you've always had, was like vocal warm-up stuff like that, or is that something you implemented later, like after COVID? Because you said you talked to your second vocal coach after you got COVID, correct?
Yeah. So I didn't start doing proper vocal warm-ups until after COVID.
What does something like that look like?
That's why I laughed when you mentioned it, because it looks and sounds ridiculous, Chad.
I know, but will you humor me? Like, what is one thing that, like, what is a couple things that you do to, like, do this? Like, what does that look like?
I meow, bro. I meow.
What, and how does that?
I'll do it. I will do it. It's the most ridiculous shit, but I will do it.
Go ahead, do it.
Meow, meow, meow. Like, literally, like you're impersonating a cat.
Now, what does that do for your voice?
It engages the pharyngeal section of your vocal cords. So, like, you have the anatomy of the vocal cords. There's a lot of different mechanics to warm up. Just like you're an athlete, right? If you do a bunch of push-ups, that's great. Go snap your Achilles. You know, like, you have to warm up your whole body, or else you're going to have a weakness. You're going to overcompensate. Something's not going to go well. So, closure is important. So one of the tricks to warming up your vocal cords' ability to close, which creates like desirable tones, but also helps with, in my opinion, it helps with staying on pitch. If your vocal cords aren't closing properly, then you're not necessarily landing the plane, so to speak. You're kind of around the pitch without actually nailing the pitch. So you would like create back pressure within your mouth, and then you would like, I don't know, kind of like trill your tongue almost like you're speaking specific words in Spanish. So you would do. So we've been talking, now I got to get into this mode. I don't normally do it on the spot.
That's all right. You don't have to do it.
I don't know if I can right now. Jeez,
that's all right.
I've been talking and smiling the whole time. This is not, so that would be like a bad warm up. Is I don't talk before I sing. Like I literally don't talk all day before a wedding.
Really?
If my wife calls me on the phone, I will speak with her because that's my wife and I love her. If my dad calls me on the phone, I love him too, and I'll answer it and say I'll call you on the way home because he's up until midnight. He's a late owl.
Yeah.
So
like, what is your what else goes into like your day? Like, do you do anything for like voice preservation? Like, how do you deal with like you being sick and having a wedding? Because you can't take that into consideration.
Dude, I had 5 Saturdays in a row, and I was sick for 4. The first one I wasn't fully sick, and then the middle 3 I was very sick. I got like just healthy enough to sing, and then I woke up Sunday and I was absolutely crushed again. And I had strep throat for the last 2 of that 3. I don't know what the first one was, but it was brutal. The meow meow in a different kind of sense is also a way to cool down the vocal. It's important to cool down your vocals in the same way that it's important to kind of stretch your body after a long run. You're not going to run a marathon and then just not do anything. Like, that's not good.
So are you meowing on the way home from gigs?
I'm supposed to be. I'm normally too effing tired to do it.
I bet.
And if I'm going to be like, if I'm doing a performance gig, like I did a James Taylor tribute concert at the Edgewood Club last year.
Unreal.
I love that guy, man. It was James Taylor, Neil Young, and the Eagles. So like the first set was really like sit and listen and quiet listening room. And then there was an intermission, and then I did Neil Young and the Eagles, and it was more just like party vibe. Like,
that's awesome.
It was fun. On the way home from that, I did my warm down my cool down because I had just been singing, and that's the time to do it. But I'm singing ceremony, cocktail hour, first dance, then I'm DJing for like 2 hours plus after emceeing for like an hour.
Yeah.
I've almost missed the boat on my cool down because it's been 3 hours.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so.
Are you like someone that's drinking tea with honey and stuff like that?
No, but I do mess with Manuka honey. You know about Manuka honey?
Manuka honey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's unbeatable, man. I mess with it. I don't put it in tea. I just teaspoon it.
Just a teaspoon in.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me, though, as part is like the part of, what goes into people having like a great voice and stuff like that. So whenever you mentioned like, I have like a vocal warm up, that's the stuff that fascinates me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's wonderful to hear you sing a song, but like, what goes into that is so, interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you Shelby real quick because I keep her on my phone. Shelby's the best, man. So in my notes app or my memos app, I exported sections, and Shelby tells you to do this. This isn't like me ripping off her stuff, but like I export sections of our lessons that I feel like this is most helpful, and she'll say like, hey, this is kind of like a warm-up thing.
How often do you meet with her?
I haven't had a session with Shelby in over almost 2 years.
Okay, yeah,
because I got COVID in COVID era, like 20. I think I got it in 21. I avoided it for a while.
Yeah,
but like this is.
I want you to think a little bit smoother through the scale so that each note juncture doesn't have like an extra. I'm being very dramatic when I do that. But more of a.
And then,
just quick
and then she runs me through scales, and so then I'm listening to her in my car, and I'm driving down the road going.
Yeah, see, like I love that. I think it sounds ridiculous, like ridiculous. You said. But I've just being on TikTok and like being brought into whatever world the algorithm chooses, you see these things, and you're like, wow, this is really like what like vocal like stuff like that.
Yeah, lip trills.
Yeah, like that's just I don't know why. I think that stuff like that's fascinating. That's really like part of like the epitome of why the podcast was created. It's like people see the final product of things, but I want to know how the final product got to where it is, and that's obviously part of it. But very fascinating. Now, like, what are your goals?
I'm just happy, to be honest. Like, I'm working anywhere between 14 and 20 weddings a year. So that's given me a really beautiful balance of working for people on Saturdays and then also having Saturdays like reserved for family time. Oh, you know what? I haven't worked a celebrity wedding before. And it's not because I want to work for like rich celebrities. It's just because I haven't done it yet, and I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a part of it. Like, we have Pittsburgh Steelers and Pirates and Penguins that live here. Like, there's no reason why I can't be the guy singing their bride down the aisle.
Yeah.
Or like scratching on their dance floor. There's no reason why not. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. That would probably be like, if that happened, I'd call you up and be like, Chad, that thing happened, bro. That goal
I love
thing.
that.
Yeah. So that's a goal of mine, is to work like a professional athlete wedding.
Yeah. Especially now. I mean, like, you've been in this game for a long time. You're also an athlete yourself. It would transition, and it would just, I could see how that would be a goal for sure. That would be really neat. Now, as far as, other things part of your business, I mean, it's just business as usual. Like you said, you're happy with what you are. Before we started recording, you said that I liked how you explained it's just like you don't want to get any smaller than you are, but right now you feel like you're at a good spot and established. Now, what about regular music beyond just being a event and wedding musician? Are you working on personal music still?
I have a song up my sleeve that I've been reluctant to release for a couple of years, and it's just because I'm stuck in the analysis paralysis mode.
Yeah.
Of like, it's not finished, but it's pretty much finished, dude. It's one of those things. And it's like it's a kind of a sacred song in a sense. When Simon was born and we found out he was going to have some special needs, so many people sent this like really beautiful poem to us called Welcome to Holland. So it was written by Emily Pearl Kinsley, and she was a writer for Sesame Street for most of her career. And she has a child with Down syndrome, so she uniquely understands the life of being a special needs parent. And so this poem called Welcome to Holland really speaks to the life, and it helps you kind of conceptualize the silver lining of this new challenge you've been presented with. Basically, the theme is you were going on a vacation to Italy. So you prepared by packing clothes that would be appropriate for Italy. You learned a couple words in Italian. You were excited to be in the fast-paced cities of Rome and the other famous cities of Italy. And while you're in the sky on the way to Italy, the pilot comes on the intercom and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're being diverted to Holland." And your emotional response to that is, I didn't ask to go to Holland. I didn't plan to go to Holland. I don't know any words in the language that they speak in Holland. And Holland's kind of slow. It's not Italy. They don't have Rome. They don't have Venice or Verona. But then, as the poem progresses, it says how Holland is beautiful. It has windmills and tulips. And while you may learn a new set of words, because you do, and you'll meet all these people that you wouldn't have met otherwise, that the beauty of Holland is in the slow and is in the relationships you form when you're there and the support network that exists in a place like Holland. So it's like a pretty powerful poem that helped my wife and I, and I'm sure countless other special needs parents, kind of just lean on some truth and wisdom that we may have not arrived at without the poem's advice. So I wrote a song called Holland that's based off of the poem, and it's mostly done. There's 2 days out of the year that I want to release it on, and National Cerebral Palsy Day is in March and International Cerebral Palsy Day is in October, and every year I miss them. I'm like, I'm gonna do it for October, and then I don't, and then once I miss it in October, I say I'm gonna do that coming March
for March, and then
I don't.
Yeah,
and it's my own damn fault, and I don't know if it's because I'm nervous about, like, you're not really supposed to write songs about poems. That's something that already exists. But like, there's no rules in songwriting, and it's not meant to be like a commercial success. It's meant to give voice to other people that are walking the path that Hillary and I are walking. because I personally don't know any songs that speak to being a special needs parent. I only know of a poem that speaks to that.
Yeah.
And not everybody can access poems in a way that emotionally lifts them up. I know that poems are fine, but poetry's not my thing.
Yeah.
I like music. Like, I need songs. So I'm trying to like give that for like the special needs dad and parent community, but I just haven't done it yet. So maybe this is me speaking it out into the world as the last push to finally pull it across the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you doing this as far as, you know, a professional musician, I mean, like, do you actively still like write your own songs outside of this?
Yeah, sometimes for fun. Yeah. I mean, because I was given like a really loving amount of truth in Nashville, I set down the ultimate goal of being a songwriter.
Okay, yeah.
Like, there's people from Pittsburgh, dude, that like are incredible songwriters. Steve Moakler from Bethel Park, he just got his second #1 hit. He's a country songwriter. He's your age.
Wow.
He lives in Nashville. He wrote Riser for Dierks Bentley. He's got other big time cuts.
That's wild.
Kevin Garrett I think he's from north of the city. He wrote Pray You Catch Me. It was the title track on Beyonce's Lemonade.
Really?
He signed to Rock Nation. And his own music is unreal. He's like James Bay meets James Vincent McMorrow, like crazy, beautiful falsetto vocals.
Wow.
Like, you'd never know that a kid from Pittsburgh wrote a title track on Beyonce album.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
So like, I had the dream of writing the songs and somebody else taking them far.
Yeah.
I don't have that dream anymore. So when I get a song idea, I'm like, oh, that's clever. That could be fun. And I keep like little just jumble memo app stuff on my phone. I probably have a couple albums worth of jumble on my phone.
Just like we were talking about before recording, it's like you have something and you just have to get it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You think there's anything I didn't touch on as far as you being an ex-athlete, a dad, a husband, and a event and wedding musician? You know, is there? I know that it's tough whenever I ask that. It's a loaded question, but you know, anything that like really like stands out that I did not get to in this conversation?
No, you even highlighted my expert nature of saying that's a great question.
Well, I mean, I take that as a compliment to myself. Anytime someone says that's a great question, that makes me feel good about this, because I hope to ask good stuff. You know, like I don't have notebooks or nothing like that. I truly just am genuinely interested about people whenever I ask them to come in and talk to me on the podcast. It's really just like, you know, this is a selfish podcast. You know, I'm selfish about this. I talk to people that I want to talk to just because I'm literally just a curious person about it. And I feel like that there's other people like me out there that like to listen to conversations like this. And then you obviously have the dogs up there just barking in the background, but what can you do? Anyway, I mean, the ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions. Okay, I'm interested about this. This is going to be a good one because I got some other questions to add into this. So, Desert Island Questions. Whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category is 3 movies to take on a desert island. So, if you had to pick 3 of your favorite movies, what would they be?
Sandlot, Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump.
Great. Those are great. Those are great movies. That's a good variety. Shawshank is on my top 3 as well. Can't beat that. Okay, so second category, I usually ask people a book or 2. You know, you have a favorite book? Are you a reader?
Definitely a reader. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. He was the gentleman who wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah.
Just really speaks to like the artist's and any creative's inner battle to just do the thing. Yeah, it's a beautiful book about that.
I gotta get on that.
Yeah, dude, it's really inspiring. He names the thing called resistance. You know, like you have this phenomenal podcast, and I try my best to be a quality musician, but even in that world, sometimes you're like, I just don't feel like doing that, or if I do it, it's not going to be productive. It's not going to give me the product that I want. he calls that resistance, and he says the only way to defeat resistance is to sit down every day and do the thing, even when you don't want to.
Really?
Yeah, and that's changed my life.
Yeah, I got to get into that because I've had struggles, as of late, just feeling like burnout doing this, and I assume that's something that you deal with as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I try to remind myself like the empty cup can't pour.
Yeah,
and then like the parable of the woodcutter, which is way too long for where we're at in our ending segment. But the story is the old man and the young man. The young man thinks he's going to cut more wood. They go out at the same time, and every 45 minutes, you don't hear the old man's axe. So the young man's like, I'm going to crush him. He keeps taking a break because he's old and tired. And the young man never stops chopping down trees. But when they get back to base, the old man has way more trees chopped down. He's like, how did you do that? He said, bro, every 45 minutes I sat down and sharpened my axe. You just kept chopping.
Wow.
So like I try to remember those things. Burnout is real, dude. Burnout is real. Sometimes you got to just sit down and sharpen the axe.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. I tell people that a lot. So whenever you said that, it kind of feels like I need to just read that book next.
Yeah, man.
I'm almost done with my current read, so maybe I'll jump in that next.
What is the current read?
The Long Walk, Stephen King book.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just read fiction. I need to read some more self-help type books, but I haven't been reading that long, but I just been reading fiction and just Stephen King and horror books, and I don't know, just stuff to get my mind off of like the everyday thing. But okay, so third category, 3 CDs to take if you had to choose. It's probably difficult for you, but
Steve Miller Band's greatest hits, Garth Brooks Double Live. Oh man,
I'm curious, what's the first CD you ever bought?
Van Halen. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. It's a great out. I loved Van Halen as a kid. What's the third one going to be? The third one's going to be The Wallflowers Bringing Down the Horse.
Okay. Yeah,
it's kind of deep in the
variety.
woods. Jacob Dylan. Yeah,
it's a good variety. Okay, a couple wedding world type questions that I'm going to kind of just throw in here because I'm interested. What is your favorite venue to play?
Tucked In Farm, Vauwinkle, PA.
Vauwinkle, PA.
Cook's Forest, way up there.
Wow.
Way up, 2.5 hours north of here. It looks like, and I say this in a complimentary way, if you don't like Chip and Joanna Gaines, then you might take this in a negative way. It looks like Chip and Joanna Gaines designed a wedding venue. It is this, like, it's brand new. It's like maybe 3 years old. White shiplap, 3 stories high, like beautiful barn, stamped concrete, everything everywhere. Beautiful patio, like Amish built, giant timber framed, like outdoor patio for cocktail hour. And then just nothing around horizon for 360 degrees around the venue. It is gorgeous.
Say it one more time.
Tucked In Farm.
Tucked In Farm.
Yeah. And the family that own it,
played that.
They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal people. I usually get up there once a year, and it's because they recommend me. They're like, oh, you have this vision, you need Mike. Like, they're really sweet.
That's cool. What is your favorite dance song to play of the first dance?
Oh, of a first dance. For a while, it was the best, the Schitt's Creek version.
Yeah.
The Tina Turner, the best.
Yeah.
Really loved that. I really did love that tune. It's maybe reaching the end of its lifespan, as far as like, when you hear songs too many times.
Yeah.
But that was definitely it for a long time. Yeah.
What's the most requested?
It's either that one or With You by Vance Joy. That's been a top request. And Into the Mystic, Van Morrison, has been a hot request for me.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I love that tune. That's a tune that no matter how many times I play it, it never grows old on me. That's one of my favorite songs ever.
Is there a unique song that you've been asked to play for a first dance that sticks into your mind?
Wedding Singer. I want to make you smile.
I would assume that would be one of the more requested ones.
Took me 10 years to get it requested.
Really?
I never pushed it, but I just assumed it was going to happen. Took 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. And I kind of wanted to wear like a Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, the blue suit.
Yeah, bro.
Like the metallic-y teal.
Yeah.
Do you have a special place in your heart for the Wedding Singer movie?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Third to last question is something called the Death Row Meal. So the Death Row Meal, about to get put to death, you get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. What is it?
Appetizer. We're going to go my Uncle Larry's deviled eggs.
Love a deviled egg.
Yeah. Yeah, he makes the best.
Antoinette's a psychopath. Doesn't eat deviled eggs.
Oh man, I liked her until that.
Yeah, right. Deviled eggs. Come on. Actually, that's better if she don't, because it's more for me.
It's more for you.
Me and her sister were just bopping deviled eggs on Easter. It was so good. Okay, so appetizer, main course. What's that?
We're gonna go with my grandma's cabbage rolls and buttered onion potatoes. And my Uncle Larry's lamb. I can have two sides, right?
Yeah,
two sides.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Uncle Larry, man, he's got it on lock.
He gets down,
yeah,
huh?
Christmas Eve lamb is undefeated in our world. So, yeah, we're going to go Uncle Larry's lamb is the main, and cabbage rolls and buttered onion potatoes is the sides.
What about a dessert?
Oh, man. It's an odd dessert, but I'm going to go a cinnamon roll from my wife's bakery.
Okay.
It's my favorite pastry sweet thing ever.
All right, that's good.
Little side of ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah. I'm into that. Okay, second to last question. You're going on a road trip to Tucked In Farms. You got a couple hour drive. You go into a gas station, you get a snack. What is it?
Trail mix, dude.
Your trail
gotta
mix
be
guy?
trail mix. Yeah, or cheddar popcorners. Yeah.
Okay.
You know about the popcorners?
Popcorners.
Popcorners.
Is that the chips that are popped?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, I get the candy corn one, or not candy corn,
Kettle corn.
kettle corn one.
Red bag.
Fire.
Cheddar, blue bag.
Yeah.
Cinnamon, purple bag.
Yeah, those are good. They really are. I just had those recently, actually. That's why I know of them. Probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago at Get-Go, I just saw them on the end cap, and I'm trying to not just get trash, but I was like, oh yeah, these are air puffed. They'll be a fraction healthier, but yeah, amazing. Very, very good.
Welcome to the club, dude.
Yeah, welcome to the club. Glad to be here. Okay, last question. If you could have a conversation with actually, before last question, who do you think you get, like who do you look up to as far as musicians? Like, who do you like to listen to, and like, who inspires you nowadays?
Yeah, there's a Pittsburgh guy I want to shout out. His name's Jamie Wright. You can hear him at like Gira Soul Restaurant. He strolls and sings, and on Sunday afternoons he's up at Narcissi Winery. Jamie is, I don't want to age him, but he's been doing this for a very long time. And I think one of my concerns as a musician is that I will have a shelf life here pretty soon. Like, I'm 38. I know that's not realistic, but Jamie inspires me because of his quality and his longevity. I'm going to guess he's got to be 60-ish.
Still out there killing it.
And same with Jim Relja from Elizabeth. Jim Relja is, he's in his late 50s now. He really inspired me to be a musician when I was a kid, in addition to my man Kerry and Rubby. And I just, for whatever reason, I just have like the sand through the hourglass concern about my music career. I don't know if like young 20s through the young 30-year-old couples are going to want me to work for them forever on their wedding day when I'm all grayed out in 50s.
Why do you think that though? Because the way that I think about that is like, you're playing music that is like, in air quotes, timeless, so what does it matter if you have a gray beard? Like, I'm 34, my beard is fully gray. You still have wonderful hair and barely any grays, but like, do you think that that's really like a valid concern, or is that just something in your mind, do you think?
Yeah, I would think that's a mind thing, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest about it, but it's there.
That's interesting to think about. I would have, as someone who, I would never think about that though. Like, I don't think that I don't think that if we're hiring someone for our wedding, I don't necessarily think that like a younger person is necessarily like a factor that I would weigh in. You know what I mean? I almost would equate someone that's a little bit older with, experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hope that's the take for a very long time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But like, I lived through the end of my basketball career, and while I was able to like leverage my music career straight into that void, I love being a dad or a grandpap or whatever happens when music's over. I'll have something else, but I guess I just don't want to experience another end of a career I'm passionate about. So maybe that's the way it's manifesting.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but big shout out to Jamie Wright and Jim Relja for just being huge inspirations to counteract that emotion.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Last question: if you could have a question, or if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why? And if you could forego a family member or a loved one, just someone that you're not really affiliated with, who do you think it would be?
I mean, my kind of obvious answer is, dude, I want to talk to Jesus, bro.
Yeah, he's been picked on here numerous times.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be it. But like, you know, to like get that out of the way, could we just like, I can say that and then push it aside?
Yeah.
Right. It would. This is not. I'm not just saying this because we're like here together. This is a thought I've had for years. I want to talk to my great grandfather, your great great grandfather.
Yeah.
Bro, why did you get on a boat from Slunj? At the time it was Austria, but we would call it Croatia today.
Yeah.
Why did you get on the boat? Like, what drove you? And like, I just want to hear that whole story because
like
that changed everything for us.
Yeah.
Like, to kind of circle back to your earlier question, was there anything you didn't touch on? Not about me specifically, but about us. Like, we are the grandchildren of immigrants who spent their lives in steel mills and coal mines and just that Western Pennsylvania grind, dude. Like, that was not an easy life.
Yeah.
Like, so the only other thing that I am that we haven't talked about and that we are is like, we are honoring like a life of sacrifice of generations that came before us. Like, you could not pay me enough money to go work in a steel mill or a coal mine, bro.
It's crazy.
And they did it because they had to.
Yeah.
In an era of time that there wasn't any other options. My dad was the first person to go to college in our family. You know, like, that nobody else was going to college. Nobody was starting a business. They were punching the clock in a steel mill. They waxed their car on Sunday so that it looked nice, and then the steel mill soot got all over it the rest of the week, and then they washed it off to go to church again next Sunday. Like, that shit blows my mind, bro. So I want to talk to the OG Michael Medved, who got on a boat in the year 1900 from Slunj, Croatia, and came over, man. That's something like, dude, tell me the whole thing.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, I thought that this was a great conversation. What did you think about it?
I agree, man. And I can I just say how impressed I am? You have no notes. There's no notebook. You just are just off the dome, just asking these beautiful, weaving this narrative. Like, bro,
try.
And it's always like that. Like, I'm curious. I know audio production. I'm like, wonder if Chad cuts things, or how he makes it so.
I don't
flowy.
really cut anything.
You are flowy, bro. You are the flow. Yeah, because when you listen as a fan, it's just seamless. It's well produced, and I'm like, okay, but well produced can mean a lot of things. That can mean cut and chop and whatever. And,
I appreciate that,
dude. Unreal. Thank you.
I try to not cut anything. One, because it's more work for me, but like I just keep the ball rolling because I don't know. I got a lot of shit. I feel like we could sit here and just talk for hours, and I feel that with everyone that I interview because. Just it's endless, just talk about endless things. But, once we're at 2 hours and 8 minutes. So it's like, time could just get lost in it.
It went.
But, okay. So, before we get going though, take a second, promote yourself, promote where, your website, where people could find more about you, all that.
That's so kind, man. You can find me in two places on the internet. I'm at mikemedved.com, which is where you'll find winery and restaurant gigs and links to the country songs I wrote during the pandemic. You can find me at Mike Medved Weddings with the S at the end.com for my wedding and event music career and business. And at Mike Medved on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok and not very active on Facebook or Twitter. So yeah, go to @MikeMedved on Instagram.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Everyone else that's listening, appreciate yins as usual. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things for the city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back.